Chapter 1. A Tuesday. Cole Marks opened his eyes in the small bedroom of a second-floor walk-up he had not lived in for 17 years. The ceiling fan was unmoving. The blinds were half-pulled. A small framed photograph sat on the dresser at the far wall, his mother at the beach, 3 years before she died. He had buried that photograph in a steel box under a culvert in the 3rd year after the sky cracked. He had not seen the original since age 25. He sat up. The body was 18. He felt the lean angles of an 18-year-old. The mattress was the cheap mattress his father had bought from a closeout sale the spring his mother had gone into hospice. The smell of the room, old paint, the laundry detergent his father used, the specific dust that collected on bookshelves with too many paperback novels, was the smell of the house he had grown up in. He looked at his hands. They were not the hands he had died with. The hands he had died with had been 32, calloused, missing the 3rd joint of the left ring finger from a Tier 3 lizard bite in the 7th year of the Dark Age. The hands in front of him were unscarred. The ring finger was whole. He sat for a long count. Then he stood up and walked to the dresser and picked up his mother's photograph and held it for 2 minutes before setting it down. He went to the closet. The closet held the clothes of an 18-year-old community college freshman. 3 pairs of jeans, 7 t-shirts, a worn jacket, a pair of running shoes that had been bought on sale at the outlet mall and that he remembered, distantly, having complained about because they pinched at the heel. He dressed. He went down the stairs. The kitchen had his father at the table eating cereal in his construction work shirt. 46. Tired. The man Cole had not seen in 17 years because the man had died in the 2nd week of the Dark Age from a wound that had become infected when the antibiotics had run out. His father looked up. "You're up early." Cole said, "Couldn't sleep." "There's coffee." "Thanks." Cole poured a cup. He sat down across from his father. He drank the coffee. His father said, "You got class at 9? "Yeah." "Sam's still in bed." "I'll wake him. He's got a math test today. He's been studying late. I'll let him sleep till 7:30. His father nodded. His father finished the cereal, rinsed the bowl, put it in the rack. His father said, "I'm working the Westmont site through Saturday. Long days. Pull dinner together for you and Sam, okay?" "Yeah." "Money's on the counter." "Yeah." His father picked up his work boots from the rack by the door. He laced them. He said, "Have a good one, kid." Cole said, "You too, Dad." His father left. Cole sat at the kitchen table holding the coffee. He looked at the kitchen. He looked at the small specific kitchen of his 18th year. The coffee maker his mother had bought because she had wanted to drink coffee with him when he turned 18 and had not lived to see it. The cabinet his father had repaired with a fresh hinge 3 months before Mom died. The dishes in the rack. The dish towel hanging over the oven handle. The clock above the door reading 6:43 on a Tuesday morning in October. He sat for 10 minutes. Then he said, quietly, to the empty kitchen, "All right." He stood up. He went upstairs to wake his brother. Chapter 2. Sam. Sam was 14. He was in the small back bedroom that had been Cole's mother's sewing room before the cancer had taken the room over with hospital equipment and then, after she died, had been converted into Sam's bedroom because Sam had refused, at age 11, to keep sleeping in the room he had been sleeping in when he had been the one to find her. He was a slim kid with dark hair and the specific shoulder line of a 14-year-old who had not yet started his real growth. In 17 years, he would be 6'2", broad-shouldered, the most recognizable face on the continent. Cole opened the door. Sam was face down in the pillow with the small, specific stillness of a teenager who had not heard the door. Cole said, "Sam." Sam mumbled, "Sam. 7:30. Math test." Sam said, into the pillow, "5 more minutes." "You got 5. Then you're up." "I'm making toast." Sam mumbled assent. Cole closed the door. He went back to the kitchen and made 4 pieces of toast, 2 for himself, 2 for Sam, and scrambled 6 eggs. He had not, in 7 years of the Dark Age, eaten an egg. The first thing his teenage stomach had requested when he had thought about food was eggs. He cooked the eggs. Sam came down at 7:38 in jeans and a hoodie with the school's wolf mascot on the front. His hair was wet. He had, at 14, already developed the precise habit of showering before school that he would carry into adulthood. He sat down. He looked at the eggs. He said, "What's the occasion?" Cole said, "No occasion. Eat your eggs." "You don't make eggs." "I'm making them today." "Are you in trouble?" "I'm not in trouble." "You sure?" "I'm sure." "Eat." Sam ate. Cole watched him eat. He watched, in the small, intent way he had not allowed himself to watch his brother across 17 years of dark age memory. The precise small motions of a 14-year-old eating eggs at a kitchen table. The way Sam held the fork. The way he chewed with his cheeks slightly puffed because his orthodontist spacer was still in. The way he glanced at the kitchen clock every 2 minutes because he was anxious about the math test. Cole had, for 17 years, carried the memory of his last sight of Sam. The last sight had been at 15, the day Cole had died saving him. Sam had been crying. Sam had been screaming his name. Sam had been pulling Cole's body out of the burning ruin of a parking garage while a Category 3 Reaver had circled overhead. Cole had bled out in Sam's arms. The memory of Sam crying at 15 was a memory Cole had carried for 17 years. The kid eating eggs across from him at the kitchen table on a Tuesday morning in October was the same kid. The kid did not know. Cole said, "Sam. Yeah. You're a good kid." "What?" "You're a good kid. I want you to know that. From me. Today." Sam looked at him over the eggs. Sam said, "Are you dying?" "I'm not dying." "Are you joining the Marines?" "I'm not joining the Marines." "Then why are you being weird?" Cole said, "I just realized something this morning. That's all. Eat your eggs." Sam ate his eggs. Cole drove him to school in the small, dented sedan that had been Cole's 18th birthday gift from his father. Sam got out at the front gate. Sam said thanks for the eggs and ran toward the school's main entrance because Sam was almost late. Cole watched him until Sam was inside the building. Then Cole drove to the community college. He did not, that day, go to any of his classes. He drove past the community college and onto the highway and out to the public library at the edge of the next town, and he sat at one of the library's computers for the next 11 hours and did the first set of things he had to do. Chapter 3. The Inventory. He started with the inventory. The inventory was the list of things he knew that nobody else knew. He typed it onto a free email account he registered under a name that was not his. He used the library's guest Wi-Fi. He paid for the Wi-Fi with cash. He had, at the start of the day, $38 in his wallet from the money his father had left on the counter for the week's groceries. He used $6 of the dollars for a parking meter and a sandwich and the Wi-Fi pass. He typed for 11 hours. He typed, October 17th, this year. Today's date. 7 years and 4 months until the crack. The crack. Morning of February 28th, 7 years from now. 9:47 a.m. local time. The sky tears open above the city of Halverston in central North America, releases the first wave of low-tier monsters, and initiates the global system awakening. Within 90 days, the rest of the planet has experienced similar cracks. Within 1 year, civilization as I knew it has ended. The system, a global cultivation framework that activates in every human's body at the moment of the crack. Every human awakens a class. Classes are graded F through SSS. Most awaken in the C range. About 8% awaken in B. About 1% in A. About 1 in 10,000 in S. SS and SSS are statistical anomalies. The first SS in the original timeline was in year 3. The first SSS was in year 5. The first SSS in the original timeline was my brother Sam, who awakened a class called Aurora Sovereign at age 19, in the second month of the 5th year of the Dark Age, after surviving 3 years of post-apocalyptic combat that the original novel I read called his forging period. The forging period began with my death. He paused. He typed, I am not going to die. I am also not going to let Sam go through the forging period. He continued. The inventory's next section was a list of people. People he knew, by name and biography, from the original timeline. People who would, in the 7 years until the crack, build themselves into post-apocalypse positions of power. People who would, after the crack, become warlords, demon-packed users, government black ops architects, system exploit specialists, and the assorted scum of the Dark Age. He typed each name as he remembered it. He typed 41 names by the end of the 3rd hour. He stopped at 41 because 41 was the limit of what he could remember reliably. He had read the original novel twice. He had lived through the Dark Age once. The combination of memories had, across the 11 hours, produced 41 names he was confident about. There were probably another 100 or so he could only half remember. He would, in time, come back for them. For now, 41. He typed, beside each name, a brief notation of what the person had done in the original timeline and what the person was likely doing at this current point in pre-crack time. The first 3 names on the list were Marcus Vance, age 27 at the crack, currently 20, a second-tier drug runner in the Eastern District. Will, in the Dark Age, build a slaver operation called the Iron Hand that controls 30,000 survivors at its peak. Killed approximately 11,000 people across the first 5 years. Vera Holst, age 34 at the crack, currently 27, mid-tier government cyber intelligence analyst. Will, in the Dark Age, hoard early system data and use the data to extort the surviving federal government's 3 S-class hunters into serving her private interests. Killed approximately 400 direct victims, indirectly responsible for many thousand more. Dren Casimir, age 33 at the crack, currently 26, a martial arts instructor at a private dojo on the south side. Will, post-crack, awaken an SS-tier class called Bone King, build a personal fortress in the Western Mountains, and run a cult of personality that will, by year 4, be eating the survivors who came to him for protection. Killed approximately 700 direct victims. Estimated thousands more indirectly. He typed all 41. He printed the list, 8 pages, single-spaced, and folded the pages into the inside pocket of his jacket. He cleared the browser history. He logged out of the email. He cleared the email's trash folder. He went outside. He sat in the dented sedan in the library's parking lot at 6 in the evening. He looked at the printed pages in his hand. He thought about Marcus Vance. Marcus Vance was, by the inventory's notation, currently a second-tier drug runner in the Eastern District. Currently 20 years old. Currently 2 years older than Cole. Currently the sort of person who, in the eyes of any reasonable observer, did not look like a future warlord. Marcus Vance would, in 7 years and 4 months, be 27, with 3 years of consolidated criminal enterprise behind him, with cash reserves, with a small private army of leg breakers, and with the exact specific psychology that, at the moment of the system's awakening, would let him pivot from criminal to warlord without missing a beat. The pivot was, in the original timeline, the single most cost-effective decision any human had made in the Dark Age. Marcus had, across the next 90 days after the crack, converted his existing criminal network into the Iron Hand. The Iron Hand had killed 11,000 people across 5 years. Cole folded the pages and put them in his jacket pocket. He drove home. He thought about Marcus Vance the whole drive. He thought, in particular, about the precise question of whether the appropriate first action was to kill Marcus Vance now, while Marcus was a 20-year-old small-time drug runner who had not yet built the operation that would, in 7 years, become the Iron Hand. The question was simple. The answer was simple. The answer was yes. He had been an 18-year-old college freshman for 1 day. He would, in the next 12 months, become someone capable of killing Marcus Vance without being identified, traced, or caught. He would start tomorrow. He pulled into the driveway of the house at 7:20. The lights were on. Sam was at the kitchen table doing homework. His father was on the couch watching the news. Everything was the way it had been on a Tuesday in October 17 years ago, before any of this had begun. Cole sat in the driveway with the engine off for a count of 2 minutes. He went inside. He made dinner for his brother. He helped his brother with the math homework. He watched the late news with his father. He went to bed at 11. He did not, that night, sleep. He spent the night staring at the ceiling and structuring the operational plan for the next 7 years. Chapter 4. The First 100 Days. He spent the first 100 days on money. Money was the foundation. Money bought training. Money bought weapons. Money bought information. Money bought silence. Money bought, in particular, the precise small piece of operating capacity that would, on day 101, let him stand in an alley in the Eastern District at midnight without anyone wondering why an 18-year-old was standing in an alley in the Eastern District at midnight. Day 1. He sold his car. The dented sedan was worth $2,400 on the local used vehicle market. He sold it for $2,000 to a man who paid cash and asked no questions. He kept the cash in a small envelope under his mattress. Day 2. He opened a brokerage account at a discount online broker. He used his birthday and his social security number. He deposited $1,800 of the $2,000 by transfer. Day 3. He made his first trade. He bought 4 small positions in 4 small companies whose stock prices he remembered from his original life. The companies were unremarkable in the present moment. Each would, across the next 18 months, announce a development that would multiply its stock price. Day 12. The first of the 4 companies announced a partnership with a major distributor. Stock up 40%. Day 28. The second announced a patent grant. Stock up 75%. Day 46. The third announced a federal regulatory approval. Stock up 112%. Day 91. The fourth announced quarterly earnings significantly above analyst expectations. Stock up 218%. By day 100, the brokerage account held $41,000. He withdrew $35,000 in 3 installments across the next 2 weeks. He used $6,000 to pay the first quarter's rent on a small rented studio across town under a fake name that the leasing office did not verify. He used $4,000 to buy a clean used pickup truck through a private party listing, registered in the fake name. He used $11,000 on equipment, knives, lockpicks, disposable phones, a small handgun purchased through a private party transfer at a gun show in the next state, ammunition, a small portable safe, 2 changes of nondescript dark clothing, a pair of leather gloves, a small flashlight. He used $8,000 on training. The training was the part he had been planning since day 1. The training was at a small private mixed martial arts gym in a strip mall on the eastern side, run by a 51-year-old former military combatives instructor named Ren Park. Ren Park was, in the original timeline, a man who had died on day 3 of the Dark Age defending the same strip mall gym from a low-tier monster pack. Ren had been a good instructor. Ren had been, by Cole's quiet memory, the kind of instructor whose students lived longer than the average post-crack survival rate would have suggested. Ren had also been, in the original timeline, the man who had taught Sam to fight. In the second year of the Dark Age, in a small refugee camp Sam and a small group of survivors had built in the ruins of the city. Sam had loved Ren. Sam had been with Ren when Ren had died, in year 5, at the hands of a slaver patrol from the Iron Hand. Cole, on day 43 of his new life, walked into Ren's gym and paid $8,000 for a year of 3 times weekly private instruction. Ren had looked at him across the counter and said, "That's more than I charge." Cole had said, "I want it to be your sole financial priority. I want you to keep the gym running on my fee until the year ends. I want you to teach me everything you have." Ren had said, "Kid, what's the angle?" Cole had said, "No angle. I want to learn. I'm willing to pay the cost. You're the instructor. I'm the student. That's the deal." Ren had looked at him for a long count. Ren had said, "All right. First session tomorrow at 6 a.m. Don't be late. And bring your own water. I don't run a snack bar." Cole had not been late. He had trained 3 mornings a week, from day 43 onward, with the discipline of a man who had been a fighter for 14 years of the Dark Age and who was now in a body that had not yet been a fighter. By day 100, his hands were already different. Chapter 5. Sam, watching. Sam noticed at day 56. Sam noticed because Sam was 14 and Sam had, in the small specific way 14-year-olds did, already begun to develop the observational habits that would, by the time Sam was 25, make him one of the more careful tacticians of the Dark Age. Sam noticed because Cole had, at day 56, come home from training with a small cut on his eyebrow that Rin had given him during a sparring round, and Sam had been at the kitchen table doing homework when Cole had come in, and Sam had looked up and said, "You got punched in the face." Cole had said, "I'm taking a class." "What class?" "Self-defense class." "Since when?" "Since 2 weeks ago." "Why?" Cole had said, "Because I want to be able to handle myself. The world is what it is. I want to be able to handle myself in it." Sam had said, "You've been doing other weird stuff too. You sold your car. You quit your college classes. You're never around at dinner." Cole had said, "I'm figuring things out. It's going to be okay. I'm taking care of things." Sam had said, "What things?" Cole had sat down at the kitchen table across from his brother. He had said, "Sam, listen, I am going to ask you for something, and I want you to give it to me without arguing." "Okay." Sam had said, "What?" "Time. I am going to be different over the next year. I am going to look different. I am going to be doing things you don't fully understand. I am going to disappear sometimes. I am going to come home with bruises sometimes. I am going to have money I cannot fully explain. I am asking you not to ask me, for the next year, what I am doing. I will tell you eventually. Right now I cannot. I am asking you to trust me." Sam had looked at him across the table. Sam had said, "Are you in trouble?" "No." "Are you on drugs?" "No." "Are you in a gang?" "No." "Cole, are you sick? Did you find out something?" Cole had said, "I am not sick. I have not found out anything that means I am dying. I am preparing for something. The something is real. I cannot tell you what it is yet because I do not yet have the words to tell you in a way that you would believe. I will, in time, have those words. Until then, I am asking for your trust." Sam had been quiet for a count. Sam had said, "Dad, don't tell Dad. Dad would worry. There's nothing to worry about. I will, when the time comes, tell Dad too. Right now, neither of you needs to be inside this with me." Sam had said, "This isn't fair." "No, it isn't. I'm asking anyway." Sam had looked at him for a long count. Sam had said, 1 year. 1 year. "Then I tell you." "All right." Sam had returned to his homework. Cole had gone to the sink and washed the small cut on his eyebrow. Across the kitchen, Sam, who had registered the conversation as the strangest thing his brother had ever said to him, kept doing the homework with the small specific focus of a 14-year-old who had just been asked, by his older brother, to trust him on a matter the older brother could not explain. Sam had decided to trust him. The trust was, on Cole's quiet, honest accounting, the most valuable single asset Cole had acquired since waking up 56 days ago in his old bedroom. Chapter 6. Marcus Vance. He killed Marcus Vance on day 174. The killing was planned across the previous 70 days. The planning was simple in principle. Marcus Vance was a 20-year-old drug runner who, in the present timeline, had a fixed routine. He made deliveries Tuesday and Thursday evenings through a network of small-time street dealers in the Eastern District. He picked up his weekly cash on Friday nights from a designated drop in an alley behind a closed laundromat at the east edge of the district. He met his supplier, a mid-tier wholesaler named Ezra Vogt, every other Saturday at a diner 3 blocks north of the same laundromat. Cole watched the routine for 40 days. The routine held. On day 164, Cole positioned himself in the alley behind the laundromat at 10 minutes before the time Marcus typically arrived for the Friday cash pickup. Cole was in a hooded jacket with the leather gloves, with a small handgun in his right coat pocket and an additional length of piano wire in his left. Marcus arrived at 9:42 p.m. Marcus was alone. The cash drop did not, by Marcus's standard protocol, require a backup runner. Marcus had been working the same route for 19 months and had not, in those 19 months, encountered a confrontation that required backup. Marcus walked down the alley. He reached the dumpster behind the laundromat. He bent to retrieve the cash envelope from the dumpster's small concealed under flap. He stood up. Cole was 3 meters behind him. Cole said, "Marcus." Marcus turned. Marcus was, physically, what the inventory had described. 20 years old, lean, the small specific quality of a young man who had been doing low-level criminal work for 4 years and had developed the body language, but not yet the seasoned wariness. He looked at the hooded figure in the alley. He registered the gun shape in the hooded figure's right coat pocket. Marcus said, "You a cop?" Cole said, "No." "Then I don't know what your problem is, brother. The route belongs to the east side. You're not east side. You're." Cole shot him. He shot him with the small handgun, with the gloves on, with a single round to the chest from a distance of 2 meters. The round was a hollow point. The hollow point did what hollow points did at 2 meters of distance. It created a small entry wound and a large internal cavity. Marcus's chest cavity was significantly compromised. Marcus dropped the cash envelope. Marcus tried to draw a knife from his waistband. He did not complete the draw. Cole shot him again. To the head. Marcus fell. Cole picked up the cash envelope. He pocketed the gun. He walked out of the alley. He took the truck 2 streets over. He drove home. By the next morning, the city's police had identified the body. The case was filed as a drug-related territorial dispute. The case was not, by the city's standard investigation protocols, given priority. Drug-related territorial disputes were a category of case the city's detective division handled by routine and did not, in this category, expect to solve. The case was never solved. Marcus Vance's death produced, across the next 4 weeks, a small reorganization of the Eastern District's low-level drug trade. Marcus's clients shifted to alternative suppliers. Marcus's network was absorbed by 2 competitors. The disruption was, by every observer's assessment, operationally minor. Cole had, in the death, eliminated the future Iron Hand. The Iron Hand had, in the original timeline, killed 11,000 people across the first 5 years of the Dark Age. Cole, on the morning after the killing, sat at the kitchen table eating eggs with Sam, who had a science test that day. Cole had no visible reaction to the previous evening. Sam looked at him over the eggs. Sam said, "You okay?" Cole said, "I'm okay. You look tired." "I'm a little tired." The class. The class. Sam nodded. Sam ate his eggs. Cole drove him to school. The day was, by every external measure, an ordinary Saturday in March. By Cole's internal measure, the day was the first day on which the future Iron Hand was no longer scheduled to exist. He had $38,000 in the cash envelope plus the previous month's brokerage gains. He had a year of training under Rin that was already producing visible results. He had Sam's trust on a 1-year timeline. He had his father, alive, still doing construction at the Westmont site. He had 7 years and 1 month until the crack. He had 40 more names on the list. Chapter 7. The Cadence. He developed a cadence. The cadence was, by his quiet design across the first year, 1 name per quarter, on average. Some quarters had 2. Some had 0. The pace was set by opportunity rather than by schedule. A name was killed when the kill could be executed cleanly. A name was not killed when the kill could not be. The cadence held across years 1 and 2. By the end of year 1, he had eliminated 4 names from the list. Marcus Vance, killed in the alley. Vera Holst, killed in her own apartment by a faked carbon monoxide leak that her building's gas inspector documented as a faulty water heater. The water heater had not been faulty. Lenny Goss, a former municipal court clerk who would, post-crack, have built a black market identity document operation that supplied identities to 47 of the Dark Age's worst actors. Killed in a hit-and-run by a stolen truck Cole drove and abandoned 3 counties away. Hesvols, a small-time arms dealer who would, post-crack, have armed the first generation of Iron Hand enforcers. Killed in his own warehouse by a gas line explosion the local fire department attributed to faulty wiring. By the end of year 2, he had eliminated 9 more. By the end of year 3, he had eliminated 23. The kills became, across the cadence, more efficient. The body's training under Rin reached, by month 19, a level of competency Rin himself had assessed as good. By month 36, Rin had stopped using good and had started using don't take it personally, but you're better than me now. Cole had taken it personally in the precise, small way that a student who had surpassed a teacher took it. Rin had retired from the gym at month 40. Rin had taken the money Cole had, by then, quietly extended to him in the form of an investment in a small private security firm Rin had been wanting to start for 10 years. Rin had used the money to open the firm. The firm was, by year 3, profitable. Rin was, on Cole's quiet ledger, the first asset Cole had placed for the post-crack period. He had, by the end of year 3, placed 14 such assets. Each asset was a person Cole had identified, across the original timeline, as a survivor with the specific quality of a survivor who had, in the original timeline, mattered. Each asset had been quietly cultivated by Cole through the precise small accumulation of personal interest, small favors, small financial support, and small specific conversations that, across 3 years, had produced a network of 14 people who would, when the crack came, take Cole's call without asking. The 14 assets were Rin Park, former military combatives, now running Park Security Group. Will, post-crack, handle Cole's first generation of personal security. Una Reese, 23 at the start of year 1. Currently a junior cyber intelligence analyst at a private firm. Cole had, across 2 years, cultivated her through a chain of professional introductions that had moved her up 2 pay grades in 1 specialty. She was, by year 3, the firm's senior threat modeling specialist. She would, post-crack, run Cole's information environment. Lana Vey, 28 at the start of year 1. Currently an emergency room trauma surgeon at the city's largest hospital. Cole had cultivated her through a hospital donation that had funded the trauma center's new equipment. The donation had been routed through a foundation Cole had established. Lana did not know Cole personally. Lana would, post-crack, run Cole's medical operation. Mira Hall, 20 at the start of year 1. The girl who had lived 2 houses down from Cole's family on the same street, who had, in the original timeline, died in the first week of the crack from being in the wrong place. Cole had, across 3 years, quietly arranged for her to be in the right place. He had paid for her to study chemical engineering at a state university she would not, on her family's finances, have been able to attend. He had paid through a scholarship foundation that did not, on its public records, list its donor. Mira knew Cole as the neighbor who occasionally helped her father with yard work. Cole knew Mira as the future 4th-tier explosives engineer who, in the Dark Age, had built the bombs that took down the Iron Hand's eastern stronghold. Eve Carter, 26 at the start of year 1. A former competitive shooter who had aged out of the National Rifle League at 25 and had been, in the original timeline, recruited at year 4 by a militia cell that became one of the Dark Age's worst actors. Cole had, across 2 years, quietly identified her, located her at the rural rifle range where she was instructing weekend students, and recruited her for the private security firm Rin had founded. Eve had accepted. Eve was, by year 3, Rin's senior firearms instructor. 9 others, each one a small specific placement for the post-crack environment, plus 3 more not on the list. The 3 more were, by Cole's quiet calculation across years 2 and 3, people he had not, in the original timeline, ever met or registered, who he had identified in the present timeline by their specific cultivation potential rather than by their original timeline role. The first was a 16-year-old girl named J. Ko who Cole had met by accident at the public library where he kept his research files. Jay had been studying for the SAT at a corner table. She had, by Cole's reading at the moment of accidental observation, the specific quality of focused intelligence that, in his original timeline, he had only seen in 3 or 4 people across 7 years of Dark Age survival. He had, in the small, careful protocol he had developed for non-list assets, introduced himself by chance, made conversation, established a small low-stakes mentorship arrangement that he had executed across the next 18 months. Jay had, at the end of the 18 months, accepted Cole's offer to fund her college tuition in exchange for an open-ended future agreement to advise me on something specific when I ask you. She did not know what the specific thing was. She trusted him. The trust had been earned across 18 months of small, specific, honest interactions in which Cole had, uniquely in his Year 3 operating environment, not lied to her. The second was a 24-year-old former military medic named Adira Soul who had been honorably discharged after a combat injury and who Cole had identified through a veterans support newsletter that listed her as a featured volunteer. Adira had a prosthetic left leg below the knee. She was, by Cole's interview with her across a single afternoon meeting, exactly the kind of medic he wanted in his operational network. She had not yet, by Year 3, been activated. He was paying her, through Wren's firm, a salary for a position that was nominally administrative but which he intended to convert, on day 1 of the crack, to a direct combat medic role. She was, on his ledger, the second emergency medical asset after Lana. The third was a 38-year-old former federal financial crimes investigator named Celia Black, who had taken early retirement after burning out on a major case. Cole had identified her through a small news article about her retirement. He had reached out to her, through a foundation cover, with an offer to consult on a foundation project. She had taken the consult. She had, across 9 months of consulting work, become, by Cole's quiet read, willing to be told what Cole was actually doing. He had not yet told her. He intended to in Year 4. The total operational network at the end of Year 3 was 17 people. Cole had not, in any of the 17 relationships, slept with anyone. He had, in the small, honest part of his evening reviews, registered that several of the 17 were, by their own quiet signals, willing to sleep with him. He had, in the same evening reviews, registered that he was not yet, at age 21, willing to convert any of the relationships into that category. The conversion would, on his quiet read, change the operational dynamic in ways he could not fully model. He had decided to defer the conversions. The deferral was, on Year 3's final accounting, the only personal decision he had deferred. Every other decision, he had executed. Chapter 8. Sam, at 17. Sam was 17 at the end of Year 3. Sam had, across the 3 years, kept the 1-year trust agreement and had extended it, unilaterally, into a 3-year trust agreement. The extension had happened in the 2nd year, on a Wednesday evening, at the kitchen table. Sam had said, "The year's up next week." Cole had said, "I know. You owe me the explanation." "I do." Sam had been quiet for a count. Sam had said, "I have a question first." "Ask. Are you a bad person?" Cole had thought about the answer. He had decided, in the count of 3 breaths he gave himself, to give the honest answer. He had said, "I am doing things that some people would call bad. I am doing them for reasons that I believe are good. The reasons require me to do specific things that, by the ordinary standards of our society, are wrong. I am doing the wrong things on purpose, with my eyes open. I do not feel bad about doing them. I do them because I believe the alternative, not doing them, would produce worse outcomes." That is the answer. Sam had said, "You're killing people." Cole had said, "Yes." The kitchen had been very quiet. Sam had said, "How many?" At the moment we are having this conversation, 9. Why? Because each of the 9 would have, on a specific timeline I have access to, caused the deaths of significantly more than 9 people. The math is uncomfortable but real. I am operating on the math. Sam had said, the timeline. How do you have a timeline? Cole had said, Sam. The next part of the explanation is the part you would have to take on faith. I am going to ask you to wait 2 more years for the next part. I will tell you, in 2 more years, the specific source of the timeline information. The source is, by ordinary measure, unbelievable. I cannot, at the present moment, prove it to you. In 2 more years I will, by then, be able to prove it through outcomes. Sam had looked at him across the table. Sam had said, You're asking me to keep trusting you for 2 more years. I am. The year I signed up for is over. I know. I am Cole. I am terrified of you. Cole had said, I know. I am sorry. I would prefer you not be. I am not going to harm you. I am not going to harm Dad. I am building something. The something will, when it is complete, also include both of you. I am not asking you to participate in the building. I am asking you to wait 2 more years before I tell you what I am building. Sam had said, What if I tell Dad? Cole had said, Then I will, when Dad asks me about it. Give Dad the same partial honest answer I have given you. Dad will, on his own decision, choose what to do with the answer. Dad will, by my reading of Dad, also extend the trust. Dad will do this because Dad is Dad. If you would prefer to tell him, you may. I will not, in any way, prevent you. I am asking you to consider whether telling him is the most useful thing for the next 2 years. Sam had been quiet for a very long count. Sam had said, 2 more years. 2 more years. If you don't tell me at the end of 2 more years, I tell Dad. Agreed. Cole, if you are wrong about the math, if the people you are killing are not actually going to do the things you think they are going to do, Cole had said, I am not wrong about the math. I will, in 2 years, demonstrate the math to you. The demonstration will be clear. You will, at the demonstration, understand. Sam had said, I am going to keep watching you. I would expect nothing else. Sam had stood up from the table. Sam had said, I love you, Cole. Cole had said, I love you too, Sam. Sam had gone upstairs. That had been year 2. Year 3 had passed. Sam was 17. Sam had, across the year, developed the specific small focused observational quality that he would, in the original timeline, have developed by age 25 under the forging of the Dark Age. He had developed it, in this timeline, by watching his older brother for 3 years. Cole had not, in the same 3 years, been less of a brother to Sam. He had, by every measure he held himself to, been more of a brother. He had attended every one of Sam's high school events that he could attend. He had helped Sam with college applications. He had paid Sam's college application fees. He had, at the end of Sam's senior year, paid Sam's full tuition at the university of Sam's choice, which Sam had chosen as the state university 3 hours away because Sam had wanted the distance from home. Cole had given Sam the distance. The distance was, on Cole's quiet ledger, the most useful thing he could give Sam in the years before the crack. The distance would, when the crack came, be irrelevant. Sam would, when the crack came, be on Cole's secured estate within 48 hours. Cole had, by year 3's end, purchased the secured estate. The estate was on a small wooded property an hour outside the city, registered to a foundation under a name that did not connect to Cole. The estate had been bought with the proceeds of 3 years of carefully timed financial trades. The trades had, by year 3, built Cole a personal net worth of approximately $14 million, of which the estate was the largest single asset. The estate had, in its current configuration, a main house, 2 outbuildings, a small barn that Cole had converted to a training facility, a perimeter fence, and a private well. The estate would, in year 5, also have a converted basement bunker, a backup generator system, a 6-month food reserve, a sealed water cache, and the kind of small specific defensive arrangements that Cole had, in the original timeline, wished every day of the Dark Age that he had thought to prepare in advance. He was, in this timeline, preparing them in advance. Sam did not know about the estate. Sam would learn about the estate in year 5, when Cole told him the rest of the story. Until then, Sam was at the State University 3 hours away, studying business administration, dating a girl named Reese, and calling Cole on Sunday evenings to give him a small briefing on the week's events that Sam, by the precise habit Sam had developed across 3 years, felt his older brother should know about. Cole listened to each briefing. Cole was, on the quiet, honest accounting, grateful for each of them. Chapter 9. The Conversation in Year 5. He told Sam in Year 5. He told him on a Saturday afternoon at the estate, which Cole had, in the previous month, formally moved into. Sam had driven up from the university for what Cole had described as a long overdue conversation. Sam had arrived at 4 p.m. Sam was 19. Sam was 6'1" and still growing into the shoulder span. Sam was, by every visible measure, a healthy 19-year-old college student whose primary concerns were his political science minor and his relationship with Reese. Sam parked his car in the gravel driveway. Sam walked to the front porch where Cole was waiting. Sam said, "This is your house." Cole said, "It is. It's a lot of house." "It is. The house, the property, that Cole. There is a barn that has been converted into what looks like a martial arts dojo. There is that a generator shed? That is a generator shed. This is the explanation. This is part of the explanation. Come inside. Sit down. The rest of the explanation is in the kitchen." Sam came inside. The kitchen was, by the design Cole had specified, a comfortable room with a long oak table, 8 chairs, a window that overlooked the property's eastern field, and the small specific quality of a kitchen that had been built by someone who expected to host people in it. Sam sat at the table. Cole sat across from him. Cole had prepared, on the table, 3 things. A printed copy of the inventory document, updated with the past 5 years of progress. A printed list of the 17 network assets, with their roles. A printed timeline counting down from today to a specific date, February 28th, 2 years and 4 months from this Saturday afternoon, with the entry on that date reading the crack. Cole pushed the 3 documents across the table. He said, "Read them in order. Read the inventory first. Read the asset list second. Read the timeline third. I will not, while you are reading, speak. I will answer questions when you finish. Take however much time you need." Sam read. Sam took 2 hours. At the end of 2 hours, Sam set the documents down on the table. Sam looked at his brother. Sam said, "You are reincarnated." Cole said, "I am. Transmigrated would be more accurate. The body is the body I was born in this timeline. The mind in it is the mind of a man who lived this same body's life through to age 32 and died on a specific day in the 7th year of the Dark Age. The death occurred saving you. I have, since waking in this body 5 years ago, been preparing for the Dark Age. I have been doing it with the precise quiet of a man who has, by every reasonable assessment, the only operational head start any human has in the 7 years before the crack." Sam said, "The Dark Age. The crack. February 28th. 2 years and 4 months from today. Halverston. The sky tears open at 9:47 a.m. local time. The first wave of low-tier monsters comes through. The system awakens in every human body on the planet. By the end of the first 90 days, civilization as I know it has ended." Sam said, "I am supposed to die." "You are not supposed to die. In the original timeline, you survive. You become, by the end of the 5th year of the Dark Age, the strongest human alive. You build a movement. You free much of the surviving population from the warlords. You become the figure history would have remembered, if there had been any history left to do the remembering. You are, in the original timeline, the protagonist. You are the central figure. You are the one the future I came from remembers. Sam said, "You died saving me. I died on day 83 of the Dark Age, in a parking garage in the Westmont district. A Category 3 reaver caught us at a supply run. I bought you 90 seconds to escape. You used the 90 seconds. You escaped. You went on to be the figure I just described." Sam said, "You are killing people now to prevent the Dark Age." "I am killing people now to prepare for the Dark Age. The Dark Age is not, by any access I have, preventable. The crack will happen. The system will awaken. The monsters will come. What I am doing is preparing the operating environment so that, on day one of the Dark Age, the people I am responsible for are alive and equipped, and the people who would have killed them are already dead. The people I am responsible for include you, Dad, and approximately 40 additional individuals I have identified across the past 5 years." Sam sat with this for a count. Sam said, "How do I know any of this is true?" Cole said, "2 ways. The first way is, I am going to give you, on this table, a sealed envelope. The envelope contains 6 specific predictions about events that will happen in the next 60 days. The events are not large events. They are small, specific events I remember from my original timeline. None of them is the kind of event you would expect me to be able to predict. You will, in 60 days, have the answer to whether all 6 predictions came true. If all 6 did, you will have a basis for accepting the rest. If any of the 6 did not, you can leave. I will accept the leaving. I will continue the work. You will, in the moment of the crack, decide whether to come to me or to handle the Dark Age on your own." Sam said, "The second way." Cole said, "The second way is the part one have been working toward for 5 years. The second way is, I am asking you to spend the next 60 days here, at the estate. I will train you. I will teach you what I have learned in 5 years of preparing. I will introduce you to the network. I will, at the end of the 60 days, give you a choice. The choice is, you join the operation as my partner and my brother and the second person in the world who knows what is coming. Or you do not. If you do not, we separate. You return to your life. I continue mine. We meet again on day one of the crack, if you choose to come to me then. The choice is yours either way." Sam looked at the documents on the table. Sam looked at the envelope his brother had just slid across the table to him. Sam said, "The predictions. In the envelope." Sam picked up the envelope. He opened it. He read. The envelope contained 6 predictions written in Cole's hand. On October 14th, the city's mayor will announce his resignation effective at the end of the month for personal medical reasons that will not be publicly specified. The reason is a prostate cancer diagnosis his office has been concealing for 8 months. On October 17th, a small earthquake of magnitude 4.1 will occur in the northeast corner of the state at 6:42 p.m. local time. No fatalities. Minor property damage. On October 23rd, a regional bank, Crestport Federal, will announce a merger with Pacific Northern Trust. Stock will spike 38% on the news. On November 4th, your roommate Brennan will break up with his girlfriend Amy. He will move out of the apartment within 10 days. On November 19th, your political science professor, Dr. Vale, will publish an op-ed in the regional newspaper criticizing the state's new education budget. The op-ed will go viral on social media. On December 9th, the state university's basketball team will lose its home opener to a regional rival by a score of 67-61. The loss will be by a wider margin than the betting line, which will predict the home team winning by 4. Sam read the 6 predictions. Sam looked up. Sam said, "These are oddly specific." Cole said, "They are oddly specific because they are accurate. I memorized them across the past 3 weeks specifically for this conversation. If they are accurate in the next 60 days, you will know I am what I have just told you I am." Sam folded the envelope back up. Sam said, "I am going to keep this. I am going to verify each prediction on its date. That is what I would do too. What do I do for the 60 days? What you would normally do. Go to your classes. See Reese. Live your life. On December 11th, when the basketball game has been played, you call me. We have the next conversation, Sam said. And if all 6 predictions are right, Cole said, then you come to the estate on December 12th, and we begin the next phase. Sam stood. Sam took the documents and the envelope. Sam said, Cole, yes. Do you regret killing the people you have killed? Cole said, no, I do not regret it. I do not, by my honest internal assessment, feel anything about it. The kills are operational. The operational logic is clean. I have, on the math, prevented thousands of future deaths. The math holds. If you asked me whether I would do them again, yes. Without hesitation. The people I killed were people I knew, from direct prior observation, would do specific terrible things. I removed them before the terrible things happened. The removals are, on every honest accounting I can construct, correct. Sam said, Cole, yes. Are you still my brother? Cole said, yes. I am still your brother. I am the same brother you have always had. I am, also, the man who has been preparing the operating environment for the past 5 years. The two are the same person. The same person has both qualities. I am asking you to accept the 2 qualities as one. Sam looked at him. Sam said, I will see you on December 12th. Cole said, I will be here. Sam left. The next 60 days passed. The 6 predictions came true. On December 11th, after the basketball game ended at the score Cole had predicted, Sam called from his apartment. Sam said, I'm coming up tomorrow. Cole said, I'll have the coffee on. Sam said, Cole, yes. I'm with you. Thank you, Sam. Sam hung up. Cole sat at the kitchen table of the estate with the phone in his hand for a long count. He stood. He went to bed. He did not, that night, sleep. He had, across 5 years, built every piece of operational infrastructure he could build alone. The next phase required Sam. Sam was, as of December 12th, in. The phase began. Part 2, The 2 Brothers. Chapter 10, The Training. Sam moved into the estate's 2nd bedroom on December 12th. Sam had, in the day of preparation Cole had given him, withdrawn from the spring semester at the university through a leave of absence request that the registrar had processed in 6 hours. Sam had told Reese the same partial truth Cole had used with their father across 5 years. I have to do something that I cannot fully explain. I am asking you to wait. Reese had, by Sam's read, agreed to wait. The waiting would, on Cole's quiet timeline, be 16 months. Sam unpacked his clothes into the dresser. Sam came down to the kitchen at 6 p.m. He said, What's the schedule? Cole said, Wake at 5. Run the perimeter, 3 miles, before sunrise. Breakfast. Combat training at the barn from 7 to 10. Inventory study at 10 to 12. Lunch. Cardio and weights from 1 to 3. Information and network briefings from 3 to 6. Dinner. Personal time until 10. Sleep. Repeat 6 days a week. Sundays you do whatever you want. Sleep, drive into town, call Reese, watch a movie. You will, by the end of the first 30 days, be sore in places you did not know existed. You will, by the end of the first 90 days, be substantially harder to kill than you are tonight. You will, by the end of the 18 months we have until the crack, be, by my estimate, the second most prepared 18-month combat-trained civilian on the planet. The most prepared is me. The gap will narrow but not close. The math on the gap is that I have a 5-year head start. The math also means that you do not, on crack day, need to be the most prepared. You need to be the second most prepared. That is sufficient. Sam said, the network. The 17 people. You will meet 6 of them in the first month. The other 11 you will meet in stages across the remaining 16. I will introduce you to each of them by name and by role. They do not, at present, know what they are part of. They know me as a person who has paid them, advised them, or otherwise been useful to them. They will, In the final 90 days before the crack, be told. You will be present for those conversations. You will be, by the end of those conversations, the only other person on the planet who knows the full operational architecture. Dad is a separate conversation. I have not, yet, decided when to tell him. The honest reason is that Dad is Dad. Dad will, on hearing the timeline, want to bring his entire extended family into the secured estate's coverage. The extended family includes, by my count, 22 cousins, 3 uncles, 2 aunts, and 41 of their dependents. The estate cannot absorb 68 additional people. I am building, across the next year, secondary refuges for the extended family. The refuges will be sufficient to absorb 31 of them through year 3 of the Dark Age. The remaining 37 I cannot, by my operational ceiling, protect. I am preparing the secondary refuges for the protectable 31 before telling Dad. I will tell Dad when the refuges are operational, which will be, by my current timeline, month 7 of next year. That gives Dad approximately 8 months between learning and crack day to make whatever personal arrangements he chooses to make with the unprotectable 37. 8 months is, by my calibration, enough time. 6 would not be. Sam listened. Sam said, the unprotectable 37. Yes. You are going to tell Dad to choose. I am going to tell Dad which 31 I can protect. The selection is, by my analysis of family relationships, the 31 who are either young children, parents of young children, or medically dependent. The 37 I cannot protect are healthy adults without dependents. Dad will, on the data, agree with the selection. Dad will also, in his own way, want to do something for the 37. I will give Dad, at the time of telling, a separate set of resources, cash, supplies, location intelligence for the secondary refuge's closest equivalents, and the names of 3 people in my network who have agreed to act as quiet support for non-network individuals on crack day. The 37 will, by my estimate, have an approximately 40% survival rate through year 1. That is, significantly above the post-crack baseline of 9%. It is not, by any honest measure, the same as the 96% I am projecting for the protected 31, but it is the best I can do. Sam said, how do you know the survival rate is 9%? Cole said, because I lived through it. The first year of the Dark Age killed 91% of the population. By year 3, the survival rate was at 6%. I am bringing my network in at 96% through year 1 and approximately 93% through year 3. The numbers are because of the head start, the resources, the training, and the precise pre-crack removals I have made. The numbers are, by every measure I can apply, historically unprecedented. Sam was quiet. He said, let's get to work. The training was the training. Cole had, across 5 years, refined the combatives curriculum he had inherited from Rin into a system optimized specifically for the post-crack combat environment. The curriculum was unlike anything the present world's martial arts systems were teaching, because the curriculum was built on the assumption that the combatant's primary opponent would be a low-tier monster of one of 9 specific morphological categories, each of which Cole had personally fought across his original timeline, and each of which had specific structural vulnerabilities. He taught Sam the 9 categories. He taught Sam the structural vulnerabilities. He taught Sam, in particular, the Reaver Drill, a 15-step combat sequence Cole had developed across the years of his original Dark Age life, specifically to handle the Category 3 Reaver that had killed him in the parking garage. The Reaver Drill was the sequence Cole had not, in his original life, ever had the opportunity to develop properly because the original Cole had been too busy surviving. The new Cole had been working on the drill for 5 years. The drill was, by Cole's quiet, honest assessment, the single most important piece of Dark Age combat technique he had been able to refine in his second life. The drill was, by Sam's 3rd month of practicing it, beginning to be effective. By month 6, Sam could perform the full 15-step sequence without prompting at three-quarter speed. By month 9, Sam could perform it at full speed against Cole, who was the only living person able to simulate the precise Category 3 Reaver attack pattern the drill was designed against. By month 12, Sam was, by Cole's testing, capable of executing the drill against the simulated Reaver attack with a 62% first-attempt success rate. The first-attempt success rate Cole had calibrated as necessary for surviving the actual Reaver encounter was 40%. Sam was, by month 12 of training, prepared to survive the parking garage. The parking garage was, on Cole's timeline, scheduled for day 83 of the Dark Age, the day Cole had originally died. In the new timeline, Sam would not be in the parking garage on day 83. Cole would also not be in the parking garage on day 83. The parking garage's existing inventory of supplies that the original Cole had attempted to retrieve had, in the new timeline, already been retrieved by Cole across the past 2 years in a quiet weekend operation that had moved the supplies into the estate's basement bunker. The parking garage was, on Cole's new timeline, just a parking garage. Sam would never see it again. The drill, however, was learned. The drill would, on the post-crack timeline, save Sam from approximately 14 separate encounters with Category 3 Reavers across the first 3 years. Chapter 11. Mira. Mira Hall came to the estate in month 14. She came on her own initiative. Cole had, across the 5 years before Sam's move-in, maintained the small specific neighborhood relationship with Myra's family that he had begun in year 1. He had helped her father with yard work twice a year. He had attended her father's small birthday gathering in year 4. He had been, in Myra's quiet observation across the same period, the older neighbor who had, by some unexplained personal arrangement, sponsored her chemical engineering scholarship to the state university 3 hours away from their hometown. She had not, until month 14 of his 6th year, asked him about it directly. She came up the gravel driveway in a small green hatchback on a Saturday morning in the spring. She parked. She walked to the front porch. Cole opened the door before she knocked. She said, "Mr. Marks. I'm Mira. I live 2 houses down from you back in." Cole said, "Mira, I know who you are. Come inside." She came inside. The estate's main house was, by the small quality of a house that had been quietly furnished by someone who expected guests, comfortable. She looked at the living room. She looked at the kitchen visible through the doorway. She said, "This is a nice place." Cole said, "Thank you. I came up here because I have a question." Ask. The Heartwood Foundation. The scholarship. The 2 years of tuition. The housing stipend. I asked the foundation, last week, who funded the scholarship. They told me the funding was anonymous through a donor-advised channel. I had assumed, until a year ago, that the scholarship had been awarded to me on academic merit through the foundation's standard process. A year ago I checked the foundation's standard application records. There was no application for me. The scholarship had been routed to me without an application. I have, since then, been trying to identify the source. I have been doing it carefully because I did not want to seem ungrateful. I am, Mr. Marks, I am extremely grateful. I wanted to know who I was grateful to." Cole said, "It was me. The funding was mine. I routed it through the foundation. I selected you as the recipient. I have been paying the tuition, the housing, the books, and the small annual stipend across 4 years. The total cost to date is approximately $104,000. There will be 1 more year of funding to complete your degree, which will bring the total to approximately $130,000. I am, by the standard the question is asked at, your sponsor." Mira sat down on the couch. She said, "Why?" Cole sat down across from her. He said, "Mira, I am going to tell you a long answer to a short question. The long answer will, by some measure, be unbelievable. I am going to tell you the answer anyway, because I have, based on the past 5 years of watching you across the small specific interactions I have had with your father, concluded that you are the kind of person who can hear an unbelievable answer and consider it on its merits rather than its surface. If I am wrong about you, I am sorry for taking your time. If I am right, the answer will be, by the time I am done telling it, clear. Will you let me tell you? Mira looked at him. She said, I will let you tell me. He told her. He told her the full architecture, the crack date, the system, the class system, the 41 names, the 17 network assets, the estate, the bunker, the pre-crack removals, the math. He told her her own role. He told her, in the original timeline, you died on day 6 of the Dark Age. You died because you were in the city on a routine business call for your postgraduate engineering job at a chemical manufacturing firm, and the firm's headquarters was within the first wave's primary kill zone. You died at 23 years old, in the early afternoon, in a way that was, by every measure I can apply, preventable. The prevention required exactly 2 things. 1, that you not be in the city on crack day. 2, that you be at the estate. I am telling you the full architecture now because the crack is 15 months away, and because I am going to ask you to make a decision about your postgraduate career that puts you on the estate's premises on crack day, with the explanation for why. The decision is yours. Mira sat with the explanation. She did not, in the count of 3 minutes after Cole finished, speak. She said, the predictions. Cole said, I have prepared a similar envelope for you. 6 predictions. 60 days. The envelope is on the kitchen table. You can take it when you leave. The predictions are different from the ones I gave Sam, because Sam was in a college environment. Yours are calibrated to your specific industry. She said, the predictions. He stood. He went to the kitchen. He returned with the envelope. He gave it to her. She opened it. She read. She read the 6 predictions for 90 seconds. She looked up. She said, if these are right. He said, if they are right, you will, in 60 days, call me from your apartment near campus. We will have the next conversation. The next conversation is the one I just had with Sam 14 months ago. The conversation is short. You will, on the call, tell me whether you accept the framework. If you do, you will, at the end of the spring semester, complete your degree and then move to the estate. You will, on the estate, build a chemical engineering operation in the converted West Outbuilding. The operation will, by crack day, have produced approximately 1,200 kilograms of prepositioned explosives, 2,000 specific monster-effective chemical compounds, and an industrial fertilizer stockpile that will, post-crack, allow the estate to maintain agricultural productivity through year 2. The operation is, by my 5-year planning, the second most important pre-crack project on the estate's roster. It is, Mira, exactly what I have been preparing you for 4 years to do. She closed the envelope. She said, you have been preparing me for 4 years. I have, without telling me, without telling you. The waiting was, by my honest assessment, the only way to give you the years of preparation without contaminating the preparation with the framework's specific stress. You needed to learn chemical engineering as a chemical engineer, not as a person who had been told her training was a prelude to the Dark Age. The 2 trainings produce, by every assessment I have made, substantially different chemists at the end. She sat with this. She said, I am going to verify the 6 predictions. Of course, if all 6 are right, you call me. If any of them are wrong, we never had this conversation. I will not contact you again. The funding for your final year will continue regardless of your decision. You will graduate. You will be, by every measure, a successful chemical engineer beginning a successful career. You will either survive the crack on your own merits, or you will not. I will not, in either case, hold the absence of your call against you. She studied him for a long count. She said, this is a lot. It is. I am sorry for the timing of the disclosure. I would have preferred to give you more time. The crack's timing did not, however, accommodate my preferences. She stood. She said, I will see myself out. Cole stood. He walked her to the door. He opened it. She paused on the porch. She said, Cole. Yes. The foundation. The scholarship. The 4 years. Yes. I do not, in this moment, fully process what I have just been told. I do, however, want to thank you for the 4 years. Regardless of whether the rest is whatever it is. The 4 years gave me a career. The career is mine. I have been grateful for the career for 4 years without knowing who to be grateful to. I am grateful to you, now that I know. Cole said, You are welcome, Mira. She left. She drove down the gravel driveway and out onto the road. 60 days later, she called. She said, The 6 predictions are all correct. Cole said, I am sorry, it was unbelievable. She said, It is. It is no longer unbelievable. Cole. I am moving to the estate at the end of the semester. I am accepting the framework. I will build whatever you need me to build. I will also, separately, want to talk, in the coming year, about the personal dimension of the 4 years. I have spent the past 60 days thinking about you in a way that the previous 4 years did not fully prepare me for. I do not want to assume anything. I am stating it as a thing I have been thinking. We will, when I move, have a longer conversation about it. Cole sat with the call. He said, We will, when you move, have the conversation. She said, Good night, Cole. Good night, Mira. He hung up. He stood in the kitchen. He had, across 5 years, registered, in the small, honest part of his evening reviews, that several of the network's women were willing to convert their relationships into a category he had been deferring. He had, across the same 5 years, kept the deferrals. Myra's call was, on his quiet read, the first conversion request from inside the network. He had, in the count of breaths after the call ended, already known he would, when she moved to the estate, not defer the conversion any further. The deferral had been operational. The operational reason, that the conversion would change the dynamic in ways he could not fully model, had been a reason he had given himself for 5 years. The reason was honest. It was also, on his quiet read, slightly less honest than the reason underneath it. The reason underneath was that he had been 32 when he died. He had, in the body he had inherited, been 18 at arrival and 23 now. He had, across 5 years, been, by his own internal reading, uncomfortable with the gap between his actual interior age and the body's exterior age. He had not, at any point across the 5 years, wanted to be in a relationship in which the woman across from him was reading an exterior that did not match what he was inside. Mira had, in the 4-year sponsorship, been in his orbit since she was 20. Mira had, on the call's 60-second sentence, told him she had spent 60 days thinking about him. The thinking had been, on Cole's quiet read, the thinking of a woman whose interior age and exterior age had, across the past 4 years, closed the gap that Cole's had widened. She was, at 24, the kind of person who had spent 4 years in the precise, focused work of becoming what she had decided to become. She had, on Cole's quiet read, become it. Cole had, in the body's 23rd year, become, by every measure he applied, the man he had been at 32 when he died. The body had, in 5 years, caught up with the mind. The gap had, sometime in the past year, closed. He had not, until Myra's call, fully registered the closing. He registered it now. He stood in the kitchen for a long minute. He went to bed. He slept. Chapter 12. Una. Una Reese came to the estate in month 17. She came because Cole had, 3 weeks before, invited her formally, by a phone call from his own number, to come to the estate for what he had described as a confidential briefing on the work I have been engaging your firm for across the past 3 years. She had, at the call, paused. She had said, You have been engaging the firm. I had assumed I had been engaging. He had said, Una, The work has, across 3 years, been work I have specifically been requesting through the firm's intake channel. The intake channel routes high-value clients to you specifically. I have been routing through that channel because your work is the work I have been requesting. The arrangement has been visible to me from the start. It has, by design, not been visible to you. I am inviting you to the estate to make it visible. She had said, I will come. She came on a Sunday afternoon. She drove a black SUV with the small, specific quality of a car that had been bought by a 30-year-old senior cyber intelligence specialist with an above-market private sector salary. She wore the small, specific clothing of the same woman on a weekend: dark jeans, a dark sweater, a small leather satchel. She parked. She came up the porch. Cole opened the door. She said, "This is a large house." It is. The firm's records on you describe you as a private investor. The records are accurate. The records do not describe a private investor's house. They describe what I am looking at, which is a fortified residential complex with a barn-converted facility, a separate generator shed, and what looks like, but a perimeter sensor array along the eastern property line. Cole said, "Come inside. I will give you the briefing. The briefing will explain the perimeter array." She came inside. She accepted coffee at the kitchen table. She sat across from him. She said, "I have been doing your work for 3 years." Yes. The work has been significant. Threat modeling, for what I had been told, was a private security consulting practice. Network mapping, for what I had been told, was due diligence on potential investment targets. Intelligence pattern analysis, for what I had been told, was competitive analysis. Each project was believable. The projects, taken together, have been, by my last 12 months of quiet review, not, in fact, believable as a private investor's commissions. Cole said, "You have been reviewing for 12 months. I have. You suspected. I suspected 6 months in. I confirmed at 12. I have, for the past 2.5 years, been continuing the work because the work has been interesting. The work has also been well paid. The combination has been sufficient for me to set aside my suspicions and proceed. I am, Cole, by my own personal honest accounting, not, in this conversation, here to confront you. I am here because you invited me to a briefing that I assumed would, at some point, explain the work. I am ready for the explanation." He gave it to her. He gave her the full architecture, the same architecture he had given Sam and Mira, with the additional specific detail of how he had been routing the 3 years of consulting work through her firm in the precise pattern that would, by crack day, have positioned her as the network's senior intelligence analyst. She listened for 93 minutes. She did not interrupt. When he finished, she said, "The predictions." He had, in advance, prepared her envelope. He gave it to her. She read it. She said, "The predictions are calibrated to my industry." They are. Specifically, the predictions are calibrated to events I would, on my professional access, have the small specific ability to verify before any public release. They are. The verification window for the 6 predictions is, by my calibration, approximately 2 weeks. I expect, by your own access, you will have verified each of the 6 within 14 days of leaving this house. She nodded. She said, "If the predictions verify, we have the second conversation. The second conversation is about your post-crack role. The role is, by my 5-year planning, Senior Intelligence Director of the network. You will run the operational intelligence environment. You will report directly to me. You will, in the post-crack period, build the network's information capacity from the present small consulting engagement into the largest functional intelligence operation in the post-crack environment." She said, "The second conversation will happen at the estate. If you choose to come, I will choose to come." She closed the envelope. She said, "Cole, yes, I am going to do the verification work. I am going to come back in approximately 14 days. I am going to, on coming back, ask you one specific question that I have not yet decided how to phrase. I will, at that time, also tell you the answer to one specific question I have been asking myself for the past 18 months. Cole said, "All right." She stood. She went to her car. She drove away. 11 days later, she returned. She came back at dusk. She did not, on the second visit, accept coffee. She sat at the kitchen table across from him. She said, "The verification is complete. All 6 events occurred as you described. The accuracy is beyond statistical chance by a margin that does not have a name in my professional vocabulary." Cole said, "Thank you for the verification." She said, "The question I have been asking myself for 18 months. Yes. The question is whether, Cole, the question is whether the work I have been doing for you is the work I want to do for the next decade." The honest answer I arrived at 6 months ago was yes. I want to keep doing this work. I have not, in the past 18 months, found work as interesting at any other firm or any other client. I have been saving the answer for the conversation I assumed we would, at some point, have. We have, today, had it. She paused. She said, "The question I have been preparing to ask you. The question is, Cole, the question is whether the work, when it converts from consulting engagement to whatever it becomes after, will include me as a colleague or as something closer." She kept her voice level. She said, "I am stating it directly because I have, in 18 months, not found a smaller way to state it. I am 31 years old. I have, across 9 years in this profession, declined to date any client of any firm I have worked at. I am not, in stating the question, asking you to date me as a client. I am asking what category I will be in when I move to the estate next year. The category will, by my own honest reading of the architecture you have just spent 90 minutes describing, be a category that requires, by its operational logic, extremely close personal access. Extremely close personal access is, by my own honest assessment, the kind of access I would prefer to have on terms that include the possibility of the closer dimension. If the terms do not include the possibility, I will still come. I will do the work. The work is the most important work I have ever been offered. I am, however, asking the question directly because I have decided I am too old, and the situation is too important to leave the question implicit." She finished. She held his eyes. Cole sat with the question for a count of breaths. He said, "Una, the category will include the possibility. I am, by my own honest assessment, interested in the possibility. I have, until approximately 2 weeks ago, been deferring conversations of this category for operational reasons. I have, in the past 2 weeks, decided to stop deferring. The decision is recent. I am stating it directly to you because you have stated the question directly to me. The terms of your coming to the estate will include, by your own preference and by my agreement, the possibility of the closer dimension. The dimension will develop on whatever pace you choose. I will not, in any way, push it. I will also not, in any way, decline it. The category, Una, is open. That is the answer." She nodded. She said, "Thank you for the direct answer." She said, 2 weeks ago? What happened 2 weeks ago?" He said, "Mira Hall called. The call was the first of a category of calls I had been deferring. The deferral ended that night. The decision to stop deferring is, by my honest accounting, the reason I am giving you the answer you have just received." She said, "Mira Hall. The chemical engineer. The one in your asset list whose role is the chemical engineering operation in the West Outbuilding." "Yes." "The architecture, then, is, by my reading, also open in a category that includes more than one woman." Cole said, "The architecture is, by your own correct reading, open. I am, Una, going to be honest about the structure. The network has, across the 17 people, several women who have, at various points, signaled openness to a dimension closer than the operational. I have, until 2 weeks ago, deferred all such openings. I am, since 2 weeks ago, deferring them less. The result, I am also being honest with you about, is that the closer dimension, as it develops, will likely involve more than one person in the network. I am not concealing this. I am telling you, now, before you accept the terms. The category is open. The category is also, operationally, a category I am, by the post-crack environment's structural pressures and by my own honest internal architecture, not in a position to make exclusive. She listened. She did not flinch. She said, the post-crack environment's structural pressures. The environment, by my 5-year analysis, will reduce the global population by 91% in the first year. The remaining 9% will be operating under extreme survival pressure. The structural pressure on the network's interior relationships will be significantly different from the structural pressure on a pre-crack relationship. The structural pressure will, on my honest reading, not support the exclusive model. The network's interior will, by year 2, function, operationally, as a small extended household. The household will, on the model that has historically functioned best under similar structural pressures, not be exclusive. She sat with this. She said, "You have thought about this." I have, for approximately the past 9 months, in the background of my operational planning. The thinking is a small portion of my total planning. It has, however, been thinking. She said, "The model. You are proposing a small extended household. I am stating the structural likelihood. The proposal will, on my honest internal accounting, develop on whatever pace the people inside it choose. I will not, in any way, build it as a proposal. I will permit it to develop. The development will happen organically across years 1 and 2 of the post-crack environment. If, at any point, any specific member of the household chooses to define a different structure for themselves, the structure will be honored. The model I am describing is a model that, in my original life's 7 years of dark age experience, was the most common functional arrangement in the network-style survivor communities that worked. It was not a model anyone in those communities planned. It was a model that emerged. I am telling you about it because I would rather you choose your participation with full knowledge than discover the structure later. She nodded. She said, "I appreciate the direct disclosure." She said, "The answer to the question I asked is open. The structure I am accepting is small extended household as it develops, with the right to define a different structure if I choose later." "Yes," she said, "I accept the terms. I will move to the estate in 3 months. I will, at the move, begin the work." He said, "Thank you, Una." She said, "Thank you, Cole." She left. The door closed. He stood at the kitchen window for a long count, watching her car's lights move down the gravel driveway and out onto the road. He had, in the past 3 weeks, registered, for the second time, that the deferral category was no longer the appropriate category. He had, in the past 3 weeks, also registered that the structural likelihood he had just described to Una was not, in fact, just a structural likelihood. It was the operational red he had been carrying for 9 months and had not, until tonight, articulated aloud. He had articulated it aloud. The articulation was, by his quiet, honest accounting, accurate. The accuracy was, by his quiet, honest accounting, also, in the small specific way the body's 23-year-old interior was capable of registering it. A thing he was looking forward to. He went to bed. Chapter 13, The Father. He told his father in month 19. The telling was, by every measure of difficulty Cole applied to the operational planning, the hardest single conversation of the 7 years. He had, in the month before the telling, completed the secondary refuges. There were 4 refuges scattered across a 3-state radius from the estate. Each refuge was a small property, registered through layered foundations, with the same operational profile as the estate in miniature, secured perimeter, food and water reserves, basic medical, weapons cache, and a small specific defensive arrangement appropriate to the property's geography. The 4 refuges could, in total, absorb approximately 31 people across an indefinite duration, with food reserves through year 2 of the Dark Age and replenishment capacity through year 3. The 31 were, by Cole's analysis of the extended family, the children, the dependent parents, the medically dependent. The 37 were the healthy adults without dependents. His father needed to be told. He invited his father to the estate on a Saturday afternoon in late spring. He told his father he had something to discuss. His father, in the small specific way of 53-year-old construction workers who had not seen their adult son's newly purchased rural properties, drove up with a 6-pack of beer. He came up the porch. He saw the property. He said, "Kid." "What is, kid?" "This is a lot of house." Cole said, "Come inside, Dad. I'm going to tell you something." His father came inside. He sat in the living room. He took a beer from the 6-pack. Cole sat across from him. He told his father. He told his father the full architecture across the same 93 minutes he had used with Sam, Mira, and Una. He did not give his father a predictions envelope. He did not give his father a predictions envelope because his father was not, by Cole's honest read, the kind of man who would require the predictions before acting on the architecture. His father was, by Cole's honest read, the kind of man who would, on hearing the architecture, immediately calculate the practical implications for the people he loved. He gave his father, instead, a single document. The document was the extended family list. 68 names, each name annotated with the small specific category Cole had assigned to it. The protectable 31. The unprotectable 37. His father read the list. His father took 21 minutes to read the list. His father did not, at any point in the 21 minutes, speak. He set the list down on the coffee table. He said, "Cole." Cole said, "Dad." His father said, "This is your Aunt Wren. She is on the list of 37. She has type 1 diabetes. She is, by every measure I would have made, medically dependent." Cole said, "Aunt Wren's insulin supply, in the post-crack environment, will not be sustainable. The type 1 diabetes is, by the post-crack medical reality, a terminal condition. I categorized her in the 37 because the categorization is based on conditions that can be supported with the refuge's available medical capacity. Aunt Wren's condition cannot be. Bringing her into a refuge would extend her life by approximately 4 to 6 weeks beyond the insulin supply running out. The 4 to 6 weeks would consume refuge medical capacity that could be allocated to people who can be sustained indefinitely. I made the calculation. I categorized her in the 37. I am sorry." His father was quiet for a count. His father said, "Okay, Dad." "Cole, I am not arguing the categorization. I am asking you to walk me through the medical reasoning on each name on the 37 so that I understand the reasoning before I make decisions about what to do for them in the 8 months I have." Cole walked him through. It took 6 hours. By the end of the 6 hours, Cole's father had, for each of the 37, a small precise piece of operational guidance from Cole about what could and could not be done. For 7 of the 37, the medical condition was, like Aunt Wren's, terminal under post-crack conditions. For 12, the condition was manageable with pre-crack stockpiling that Cole could and would fund. For 18, the issue was not medical, but a lack of survival training that Cole could not, by his time and resource limits, provide in 8 months, but could partially mitigate through prepositioned supplies. His father wrote each line down in a small notebook. His father did not, across the 6 hours, cry. His father did, at the end, set the notebook down and look at his son across the coffee table for a long count. His father said, "The original timeline." Cole said, "Yes. You died on day 83 saving Sam." "Yes. I died on day 14 of an infected wound." "Dad." "Cole, I am asking you to walk me through. How did the wound happen? How did I die? Walk me through. I want to know." Cole walked him through. It took 50 minutes. His father did not, across the 50 minutes, interrupt. At the end, his father said, "Okay, Dad. Cole, I am not. I am not going to die that way in this timeline. You have, by what you have spent 5 years building, made sure of it. I am, by every honest accounting, alive on crack day because of what you have done. I am going to be alive in year one of the dark age because of what you have done. I am, Cole. I'm going to spend the next 8 months doing the work in this notebook to make sure that as many of the 37 as possible are also alive on crack day and through year one. I am not going to save all of them. I am going to save the ones I can save. I am going to choose carefully. I am going to use the resources you are giving me. I am going to make peace where I cannot save with the people I cannot save. I am going to thank them. I am going to tell them I love them. I am, Cole. I am going to do this work." His father closed the notebook. His father said, "The part of this conversation that I am, in my own internal weather, having the most trouble with is separate from the family. The part is, Cole, you died on day 83 saving Sam. You were 32. You came back. You came back at 18. You spent 5 years building this. You spent 5 years building this, without telling Sam, without telling me, alone, with Cole. How heavy has that been?" Cole looked at his father. He did not, at the question, have a clean answer. He said, "Dad, the honest answer is, I do not know. I have, across 5 years, not made room to consider it. I have been operating. The operating has been the entire content of the 5 years. The operating has not left room for the consideration. I have been okay. I have been functional. I have not been collapsed. The operating has been the answer to the question of how heavy the 5 years have been. The operating has been load-bearing. The load has been, by every honest measure, significant. I have not, until this conversation, said the word heavy aloud about it. I am, Dad, I am saying it now. The 5 years have been heavy. They have also been the only possible response I could make to the information I woke up with. The combination has been sustainable. The sustainability is, on my honest reading, related to the fact that, somewhere in the back of my 5 years, I have been doing the work to keep you alive. Specifically, by name. The work has been a thing I could carry. I have been carrying it. I am okay." His father stood up from the chair. His father walked across the living room to his son. His father put his arms around his son. His father said, "Kid." Cole said, "Dad." His father held him for a long count. He let him go. He said, "Okay. The work is the work. Walk me through the refuge's locations. Walk me through the supply schedule. I am going to start, tomorrow, on the 8-month timeline. We have, by my honest accounting, work to do." Cole said, "Dad." "Yes. Thank you for accepting the framework." His father said, "Kid, I am your father. The framework is what my son has spent 5 years building to keep his family alive. I am not going to do anything other than accept it. I am going to ask, before we end this conversation, one operational question." Cole said, "Ask." His father said, "The 17 network assets you mentioned, 2 of them, by the specific structure of the disclosure, you are now in a personal arrangement with, or about to be." Cole said, "Yes. 2, possibly more, across the next 2 years." His father said, "Do they all know about each other?" Cole said, "The 2 who currently know have been told. The others will be told as the situation develops. I have not concealed the structure from any of the network's interior in any conversation that has reached the operational threshold." His father said, "The structure is, operationally, a small extended household." "Yes." His father said, "Kid, I am not, by my own personal preferences, the kind of man who would have built that. I am, also, not by any honest measure the kind of man who is going to question your construction of it. You have, by every measure I can apply, earned the construction of whatever post-crack life you choose to build. I am telling you that if the construction is honest with the people inside it, and if the people inside it have chosen the construction with their full eyes open, then the construction is, Cole, yours. I will not, in any way, comment on it further. I am asking, though, that you bring the women to dinner. I would like to meet them. I would like to do that part as your father, rather than as a man hearing about it secondhand. Cole said, I will bring them to dinner, Dad. His father said, all right. Show me the basement. I want to see the bunker. Cole showed him the bunker. His father said it was good work. They drank the remaining beers on the porch at midnight while looking at the eastern field. His father drove home at 1 a.m. He had been told. The framework was, as of the end of month 19, fully disclosed to the three people in Cole's life who would, in the post-crack environment, be the structural foundation of everything he was building. His father, his brother, the two women he had, in the past 5 weeks, accepted as participants in the small extended household the structural pressures were going to produce. The disclosure was complete. The crack was, at the end of month 19, 9 months away. Chapter 14, The Final 9. The final 9 months ran on a precise calendar. Cole had, in the first 5 years, built the infrastructure. He had, in years 6 and the first 3 months of year 7, built the human network. He had, in the final 9 months, to execute the operational transition from a personal project to an extended household enterprise that could survive the crack in its first 90 days. He moved at the pace the calendar required. Sam completed the 18-month training program at the end of month 19. Sam was, by Cole's testing at the program's end, the second most prepared 18-month combat-trained civilian on the planet. Sam was, by his own honest interior reading, also a different person than he had been at 19. He had grown 2 inches. He had put on 20 pounds of functional muscle. He had, in Cole's quiet observation, developed the specific small focused observational habit that he would, in the original timeline, have developed by 25. Sam was ready. Sam went, in month 20, into the network briefings. Cole walked him through each of the 17 network members in person, in operational sequence. Sam learned each name, each role, each pre-crack preparation, each post-crack assignment. He learned, in particular, the specific structural responsibilities each network member would assume on day 1 of the crack. By the end of month 23, Sam could, by Cole's testing, reconstruct the full operational architecture from memory, in either direction, with 11 significant figures of accuracy. Sam was ready to operate the architecture if Cole was not present. Cole did not, on his planning, expect to be absent. He prepared for the contingency anyway. Mira moved to the estate at the end of month 20. She arrived in the same green hatchback she had driven up 6 months earlier, this time with the small specific configuration of a complete personal relocation. 3 large boxes of personal effects, 2 larger boxes of textbooks, a small toolkit. She unpacked into the converted West Outbuilding's residential wing in 3 days. She set up the chemical engineering operation in the Outbuilding's main workspace across the next 2 weeks. By month 22, the chemical engineering operation was producing. By month 25, the operation had produced, on the schedule Cole had given her, approximately 490 kilograms of pre-positioned explosives, 800 specific monster-effective chemical compounds, and the first 80% of the industrial fertilizer stockpile. She would, by crack day, complete the rest. She and Cole had, across the first 3 weeks of her residence, had the longer conversation she had referenced. The conversation had been honest. The conversation had concluded, on its own pace, in a small arrangement that was, by Myra's own quiet articulation, not what I would have planned at 20, but what makes sense at 24. The arrangement included the small extended household structure Cole had described to Una. Mira had, on hearing the structure described, sat with it for a single evening alone in her residence, and had come to Cole's office the following morning with the same direct manner she had displayed since the foundation envelope. She had said, "I accept the structure. I am, by my own honest read, comfortable with it under one condition. The condition is that, in the structure, each woman is told about each other woman by name. No concealment between the household's interior. I will not be in a structure where the women do not know each other and where the knowing is managed through you." He had said, "The condition is accepted. The household's interior will be fully transparent." She had said, "Thank you." She had, in the months after, adjusted to the structure with the same precise quiet she had applied to learning chemical engineering. The adjustment was, by Cole's quiet observation, clean. Una moved to the estate at the end of month 22. She arrived in the same black SUV she had driven up in twice, this time with a small moving truck of personal effects following. She set up in the main house's east wing. She set up the intelligence operation in the main house's converted second floor, which Cole had prepared for her across the previous 6 months with the precise specifications she had submitted: 9 workstations, 3 secure servers, a small briefing room, and the kind of small specific air handling and acoustic isolation that the work required. She and Mira met on Una's 3rd evening at the estate. The meeting was scheduled. Cole had, by his commitment to Myra's condition, informed each of them in advance of the structure they were entering. Both women had been informed of each other by name, with operational role, since their respective acceptances of the framework. The meeting was in the kitchen at 7 p.m. over a meal Cole had prepared. Mira said, "Una." Una said, "Mira." Mira said, "The intelligence operation." Una said, "The chemical engineering operation." They sat across the table from each other for a count of 2 breaths. Una said, "I would like, if you are willing, to set up a standing meeting between our 2 operations. The chemical engineering operations outputs and the intelligence operations threat assessments will, by my reading of the post-crack environment, need to be tightly coordinated. The coordination will, on the standard model, route through Cole. I would like to short-circuit the route and have us coordinate directly." Mira said, "I agree with the proposal. The route through Cole would, by my reading, introduce a single point of failure dependency that we should avoid. The standing meeting is sensible. I would like to also propose, in addition to the operational meeting, a small standing personal meeting, once a week, not for operational coordination, for what I would describe as the practical management of the structure we are both in." Una said, "Accepted. Once a week. We will, between us, manage the practical structure as required." They turned, simultaneously, to Cole. Cole said, "I will not, in any way, participate in either of those meetings. I will, on operational matters, defer to whatever decisions the 2 of you arrive at jointly. I will, on personal matters between the 2 of you, defer to whatever arrangements the 2 of you arrive at jointly. I am, for the record, extremely pleased with the way this dinner is proceeding." Mira said, "We are pleased the dinner is proceeding the way we have been planning it for the past 3 weeks." Una said, "We coordinated by email." Mira said, "We coordinated by email approximately every 2 days for 3 weeks." Cole said, "I did not know about the email coordination." Una said, "You did not need to. The household's interior, as Mira specified, is fully transparent. The household's interior also has, by Myra's specification, its own internal coordination that does not require your knowledge of every email." Mira said, "We would, however, be willing to share the email thread if you would like to read it." Cole said, "I would, in honest fact, I would, in honesty, prefer not to." The 2 women laughed. Cole, on the small, honest accounting of the dinner, registered that the dinner was, by every measure he could apply, the most well-managed personal evening of his second life. The dinner ran until 11 p.m. Chapter 15, Selah. Selah Black, the former federal financial crimes investigator, came to the estate in month 24. She had, across the previous 15 months, completed the foundation consulting work Cole had been quietly paying her for, and she had, across the same 15 months, developed the specific small quality of a 53-year-old investigator who had, on her own analysis, identified that the consulting work was a cover for an operation she had not yet been told about. She had, 6 weeks before her move date, called Cole. She had said, "I am too old to play around. I have identified that the consulting work is preparation for a larger project. I have identified that the larger project is not, by any honest read, a private investment portfolio. I would like, if you are willing to give it, the briefing on what the larger project actually is. I would like the briefing because I am, at 53, willing to spend the rest of my professional life on the right work, and I want to know whether what you are doing is the right work." He had said, "Come up next Saturday." She had come up. He had given her the briefing. She had listened with the same precise quiet she had applied to 29 years of financial crimes investigation. At the end, she had said, "I have spent 29 years building cases against people who, in the structure I am hearing you describe, will become irrelevant in approximately 12 months. I have, in particular, built cases against 3 specific individuals who are, by my private assessment, the worst people I have encountered in my career. The 3 individuals will, by your description of the post-crack environment, almost certainly survive the crack with significant resources intact. They will become, by the post-crack model, exactly the kind of people you have been preemptively removing." He had said, "What are their names?" She had told him. He had looked at the 3 names. One of the 3 was on his existing list of 41. 2 were not. She had said, "The 2 that are not on your list are also worth your time." He had said, "How worth?" She had said, "The first is a man named Aaron Vell. He is currently 51. He runs a private financial holding firm that has, across the past decade, been laundering money for 3 of the Western states' worst trafficking networks. He is, in my professional assessment, the smartest pre-crack criminal financial architect alive. He will, post-crack, recognize the system's economy within 90 days. He will build a personal kingdom in approximately 18 months. He will be one of the post-crack period's worst." The second is a woman named Karis Angel. She is currently 44. She runs what appears to be a respectable private intelligence firm. The firm is, in fact, a contract murder broker for high-end international clients. She has personally arranged the deaths of approximately 140 individuals across the past decade. She will, post-crack, transfer the operation to the system's economy within 72 hours of the crack and run a contract murder business that, by year 3, will be responsible for thousands of deaths. Asterisk. He had sat with the names. He had said, "Thank you for the additions. I will, in the next 6 months, handle both names. Sela, will you accept the position?" She had said, "What is the position?" He had said, "The position is, by my 5-year planning, Senior Operational Compliance Director of the network. You will, post-crack, build and run the network's internal accountability structure. The structure will be, by my honest reading, the difference between a network that becomes a warlord operation and a network that becomes a functional post-crack civil institution. The position is, Sela, the position that requires, specifically, your professional history. The work you have done across 29 years was, by my honest read, training for what comes next." She had said, "I accept the position." She had moved to the estate 2 weeks later. She and Cole had, on the night of her move, had a separate small conversation in his office. She had said, "I have, by your 7th week briefing during the consulting work, also identified that the household's interior has a structure that includes more than the operational. The structure has, by what I understand, currently 2 participants." He had said, "Yes." She had said, "I am 53. I have been single for 7 years. I have, in those 7 years, found no reason to consider the question of personal partnership. I am, by my own honest read, telling you, on the night of my move, that the household's interior structure is interesting to me. I am not, in this conversation, asking for a place in it. I am, Cole, informing you that, if the structure develops in a way that includes the question, I would consider the question. He had said, understood. The structure does not, in any way, have a fixed shape. The shape will, by the agreement that has been made between the existing participants, develop on whatever pace each woman in the household chooses. If you choose, at any point, to consider the question and arrive at a yes, the household's existing participants will, on the agreement, be informed of the consideration by name. They will, on the agreement, not have a veto. They will have the right to express preferences and to manage the practical arrangement. The shape will adjust accordingly. She had said, understood. I am not, on tonight's accounting, ready to consider. I am informing. I am, Cole, also, on tonight's accounting, asking that you accept that the household's interior structure may, in time, include a participant who is 28 years older than you and has, on every honest accounting, a different set of personal expectations than the other two. He had said, the household's interior structure has, by every premise I have been operating from, no fixed expectations on age or background. The structure is, by its design, flexible. If you choose, the choice will be accepted on its own terms. She had said, thank you, Cole. She had gone to her residence. She had, across the next 4 months, built the compliance structure with the same precise, focused work she had applied to 29 years of federal investigation. The question of her personal participation she had, by her own quiet pace, not yet, by month 28, brought back up. Cole had not, in any way, pushed it. Chapter 16, The Final Three. The final 3 months before the crack ran on the precise count of weeks. Week 12 before, Cole executed the last of the pre-crack kills on the list. The kill was Karis Angel, the contract murder broker Sela had identified. Cole executed her in her own private office on the 20th floor of a downtown business tower, at midnight, in a fake suicide configuration that the city's homicide division would, across the following month, fail to overturn. The fake suicide held. By week 12 before, the total kill count across 7 years was 38. The 38 included 34 from the original list of 41 and 4 off-list additions, including Aaron Vell, the financial architect, and Karis Angel. The 7 names from the original list Cole had not killed had been names that, on his quiet reassessment in year 5, did not meet the kill threshold under his revised operational criteria. They would have been mid-level rather than top-tier post-crack criminals, and the cost of their pre-crack removal was not worth the operational signature it would have produced. The 38 pre-crack removals would, by Cole's most careful estimate, prevent approximately 18,000 post-crack deaths in the first 3 years of the Dark Age. The math, on his quiet ledger, was complete. Week 11 before, the secondary refuges took possession of the protectable 31. Cole's father had, across the previous 8 months, completed the operational work of relocating each of the 31 to their assigned refuge in a sequence that had not, by any external observers read, looked like a coordinated relocation. The 31 were, by the end of week 11, all installed. The 37 who had been told about the 31's relocation and the larger framework had, by Cole's father's careful conversations, split into 3 groups. 12 had accepted the framework and had built their own private arrangements with the prepositioned supplies. 16 had, by the precise small quality of family members who had been told something unbelievable by a brother they trusted, accepted the framework on partial information and had made small specific arrangements without fully understanding why. 9 had not believed and had taken no action. The 9 would, by Cole's quiet projection, die in the first month of the crack. Cole's father had, in the 7th of the 8 months, said his quiet goodbyes to the 9 without ever telling them they were the 9. His father had, in the same period, also said quiet goodbyes to Aunt Run and the 6 others whose conditions could not be sustained post-crack. His father had, by the end of the 8 months, completed the work. His father had moved to the estate at week 11 before. He had brought a small suitcase, the toolbox from his Westmont site, and a single framed photograph of Cole's mother that he had not, in 17 years of being a widower, displayed openly in any room of his old house. He set the photograph on the mantel of the main house's living room. He said, "She would have wanted to be here." Cole said, "She would have. I am, Dad. I am sorry she is not." His father said, "So am I." The work continues. The work continued. Week 10 before, Cela Black, who had, in week 11, quietly approached Una and Mira in a coordinated meeting Cole was not present for, completed the conversation she had been preparing across 4 months. The conversation had, by Una's later summary, concluded with all 3 women in alignment about the household structure, including Cela on terms each of them found acceptable. Cela had, on week 10, come to Cole's office in the evening and informed him of the consideration's outcome. Cole had, on the precise terms he had agreed to, accepted the outcome. The household, by week 10, was 4. Week 9 before, J. Coe, who Cole had been mentoring since she was 16, graduated from MIT with a dual degree in computer science and mathematics at the age of 20. She had, across the 4 years of her college, quietly accumulated, in addition to the dual degree, a working knowledge of the post-crack architecture Cole had been building. The accumulation had happened by her own initiative. She had, in her sophomore year, made the connections Cole had not, until then, planned to make her make. Cole had, on the day of her recognition of the architecture, sat with her in a Cambridge cafe across from her dormitory and had told her the full framework. Jay had, at the end of the framework, said, "The post-crack environment will need an architect for the system's information layer. I have been preparing for that role for 2 years without knowing it had a name. I would like the role." He had said, "The role is yours." She had moved to the estate at week 9 before. She was the youngest member of the network at 20. She set up her workstation in the main house's converted second floor beside Una's intelligence operation. She and Una, across the 7 weeks of overlap before the crack, built the architecture of what would, post-crack, become the network's central information system. Jay did not, by week 1 before, request to be considered for the household's interior structure. Jay was, by her own quiet read of her own 20-year-old internal architecture, not yet ready for the consideration. Cole, on his honest reading of her, accepted her position. He would, on the network's protocol he had agreed to with the existing participants, not in any way push the consideration. He would, in time, accept whatever Jay arrived at. Week 1 before, the network was, by Cole's count, 23 people and residents at the estate and the secondary refuges combined, with 11 additional network members on standby at their pre-crack positions for activation on crack morning. Total population under the network's umbrella, 34 operational members plus the 31 protected dependents plus 12 self-arranged extended family, with the framework's partial information plus 16 self-arranged extended family with the framework's partial information at lower confidence. Total, 93 people. The crack was, by Cole's calendar, 7 days away. He spent the 7 days going through the final operational checklists with each member of the network in turn. The checklists were precise. The checklists had been refined across 5 years. The checklists were complete. On the night before the crack, he had a small private dinner at the estate's main house with the 4 women of the household, his brother, his father, and Jay. The dinner was quiet. Cole, at the end of it, raised a glass. He said, "The work has been the work. Tomorrow is tomorrow. We have done what we can do. We will, in the coming years, do what we can do. I am grateful to each of you." The gratitude is, by my honest accounting, the most important thing I have to say tonight. His father said, "Drink the wine, kid." He drank the wine. He slept that night for the first time in 6 months without setting an alarm. He woke at the time he chose to wake. The time was 7:14 a.m. The crack was at 9:47 a.m. He had 2 hours and 33 minutes. Part 3. The Day the Sky Cracked. Chapter 17. 9:47 a.m. He drank coffee at 7:30 a.m. He completed the final checklist with Sam at 8 a.m. He briefed the network's perimeter security team at 8:30 a.m. He sat in the main house's living room with his father at 9 a.m. The two of them did not speak. They looked out the window at the eastern field. His father drank his own coffee. At 9:42 a.m. Cole stood. He went out onto the porch. The rest of the household joined him in the next minute. Sam, Una, Mira, Sela, Jay, his father, the 4 perimeter security members of the network who were assigned to main house coverage. The 12 other on-estate members of the network who had been assigned to other positions stood at their assigned positions across the property. At 9:46 a.m. the sky was clear. At 9:47 a.m. the sky cracked. The crack was visible from the estate. Halverston was 440 miles northwest. The tear in the sky was, by Cole's original memory, visible from approximately a 1,000-mile radius. From the estate's porch, the tear appeared on the northwest horizon as a thin vertical line of dark blue against the morning sky, with a small bright halo at its center. The halo expanded across the next 3 seconds. At 9:47 and 4 seconds a.m. the halo opened. At 9:47 and 5 seconds a.m. every human on the planet felt the system awaken. Cole felt it. He had, across his original timeline, felt the awakening exactly once. The feeling was the feeling. The feeling was a small structural reorganization inside the body's cultivation foundation. The reorganization was the system integrating itself into the body's existing neural and physical architecture and producing, at the end of the integration, a class designation. He had spent 5 years preparing for the class designation. He had been preparing specifically for one specific class. The class was called Apostle. It was, in the system's full class taxonomy, an SS-tier hidden class that the original timeline's data had identified as being awakened by approximately 1 in every 2 billion humans. The class had, in the original timeline, been awakened twice in the 7 years of the Dark Age that Cole had lived through. Both awakeners had been, by every assessment Cole had access to, statistical accidents, people who had, by some combination of cultivation foundation and pre-crack life choices, happened to meet the system's specific criteria. Cole had, across 5 years, identified what those criteria were. The criteria were 3. First, the cultivator must, in the pre-crack period, have personally caused the deaths of more than 30 individuals. Second, the deaths must have been, by the system's own internal moral assessment, operationally justified preventions of greater harm. The system's moral assessment was, by Cole's quiet research across his original timeline, a measurable calculation that the system ran on each pre-crack kill at the moment of the crack to determine whether the kill had, in fact, prevented more deaths than it had caused. Third, the cultivator must have, at the moment of the crack, an active operational network of at least 20 individuals whose post-crack survival depended on the cultivator's preparation. Cole had met all 3 criteria. He had killed 38 individuals. Each kill had, on the system's measurable assessment, prevented significantly more deaths than it caused. He had an active operational network of 34 individuals at the moment of the crack. At 9:47 and 6 seconds a.m., the system assigned Cole's class. Cole felt the assignment. The assignment was a small internal notation that the system rendered as a visible status display the cultivator could read at will. Cole read it. The display said, Class, Apostle, Tier SS, Class Skills, 3 of 7 unlocked at awakening. Inventory of the saved, passive. The cultivator's pre-crack operational network is registered as the cultivator's inheritance. Each member of the inheritance receives, at the moment of awakening, a class compatible with the network's structural needs as assessed by the system. The compatibility is, by the system's internal computation, optimized for the network's operational coherence. Weight of the saved, passive. The cultivator's combat output is multiplied by a factor proportional to the inheritance's continued survival. Current multiplier, 4.7x. Voice of the saved, active. The cultivator may, at will, communicate operational instructions to any inheritance member within a radius proportional to the cultivator's current cultivation level. Current radius, estimated 9 kilometers. Cole read the 3 skills. He registered that the multiplier was 4.7x because he had, by the network's structural composition, 34 members at the moment of awakening. He registered that the multiplier would, by the skill's stated mechanic, continue to grow if the inheritance survived. He registered that the multiplier would also, on the skill's stated mechanic, decrease if any inheritance member died. He registered the precise small implication of the multiplier's dependence. The network's survival was, by the system's own structural integration, his cultivation foundation. He had, by 5 years of work, built the cultivation foundation already. The class had simply, on awakening, formalized it. He turned to the household on the porch. He said, I have an SS tier class called Apostle. The class is, by the system's terms, built on the network's continued survival. Each of you, by the same mechanic, has just been assigned a class compatible with the network's structural needs. Read your status displays. Tell me what class you have. Yuna read hers first. She said, A tier. Signal reader. Information class. Allows extended range pattern recognition across electromagnetic and system data signatures. Mira read, A tier. Calloused. Chemistry class. Combat grade compound synthesis at accelerated rate. Sela read, A tier. Ledger keeper. Information class. Forensic accounting and accountability tracking across post-crack economic systems. Sam read, S tier. Aurora guardian. Combat class. Defensive shield projection and group cover specialization. Cole's father read, B tier. Builder. Engineering class. Structural construction and repair at accelerated rate. J read, A tier. Architect. Information class. System data analysis and exploit identification. Cole looked at the 6 classes. He registered that the system had, on the network's structural assessment, given Sam an S-tier defensive shield class rather than the original timeline's SSS-tier Aurora Sovereign Offensive Light class. The substitution was, on Cole's quiet reading, the system's recognition that Sam was, in this timeline, no longer the network's primary combat asset. Cole was. The network needed Sam to be the defensive shield rather than the offensive spear. Sam read the description of his class. Sam said, This is different from what was projected. Cole said, The projection was the original timeline's projection. The original timeline did not have a network. You, Sam, are no longer the protagonist. The protagonist is, by structural necessity, me. You are the second in command. The class system has, in its assignment, recognized the structure. Your class is calibrated to the structure. Sam said, Okay. Cole said, Are you all right with that? Sam thought. Sam said, Yes. I am Cole. I have, across the past 16 months of training, been preparing to be the second in command. The class confirms the role. I am comfortable. I am also, by the description, going to be a very good shield. I am okay. Cole said, Good. He turned to the rest of the porch. He said, Each of your classes is, by my preliminary read, well calibrated to your network role. We will, across the next 90 days, refine the use of each class through operational testing. The testing will be coordinated by Sam and the perimeter security team. Yuna's intelligence operation will run continuous threat analysis. Myra's chemistry operation will switch to combat-grade compound production by end of day. Sela's compliance operation will start the network's internal accountability tracking on day one of the new post-crack economy. Jay's architect class will, by my read, give us a significant operational advantage in understanding the system's full mechanics across the next 90 days. Dad's builder class will, by my read, accelerate the estate's defensive infrastructure work that we have been planning to complete in the first 30 days. I will, on my apostle class, lead. We will coordinate. We will, by the end of day 90, have established the post-crack period's first stable defensive enclave on the continent. We will, by the end of year 1, have eliminated every remaining warlord-tier threat within a 1,000-mile radius. We will, by the end of year 3, control, by structural inevitability, the post-crack civil reconstruction of approximately 20% of the continent's surviving population. He paused. He said, "The work begins now. Mira, Sela, Yuna, Jay, to your stations. Dad, Sam, to the perimeter check. I will, in 15 minutes, lead the first patrol of the property. The first wave of low-tier monsters will, by my original timeline's data, reach our radius in approximately 6 hours. We will be ready." The household moved. Cole stood on the porch for a count of 2 breaths after the others had dispersed. He looked at the northwest horizon, where the crack's tear was still visible as a thin vertical line of dark blue against the morning sky. He registered that the original timeline's 7 years of dark age were now beginning, for him, for the second time. He had, across the 7 years before this morning, prepared for exactly this moment. He had, by the system's confirmation, built the cultivation foundation he had planned to build. He turned. He went inside the house. The work began. Chapter 18, Day 90. The first 90 days were the period the original timeline's data had identified as the Dark Ages structural sorting. The sorting was the period during which the world's population was reduced from its pre-crack count of approximately 8 billion to its first-year survivor count of approximately 700 million, and during which the surviving population was structurally reorganized into the warlord territories, refugee enclaves, and isolated holdouts that would, across the next 5 years, define the Dark Ages political geography. Cole had, across his original timeline, survived the structural sorting by hiding. He had, in this timeline, not hidden. He had, across the first 90 days, done 4 things. First, he had eliminated, in the first 30 days, every remaining pre-crack threat within a 500-mile radius that had survived the structural sorting. The remaining threats were 18 individuals who had, on the original timeline's data, been minor pre-crack figures whose post-crack class assignments had given them disproportionate operational capability. He killed each of the 18 in coordinated operations, with Sam as the defensive shield and the network's intelligence and chemistry providing operational support. Each kill was clean. Each kill produced a small post-crack cultivation gain through the system's standard combat experience mechanic. By day 30, Cole's cultivation level had advanced from the post-crack Tier 1 baseline to early Tier 5. The 18 kills produced a network-wide cultivation gain through the weight of the saved multiplier. Each inheritance member's individual cultivation gain was reduced by the multiplier structure to approximately 70% of what a non-inheritance member would have received from equivalent combat experience. The reduction was offset by Cole's own cultivation gain to approximately 300% of what a non-apostle would have received. The math was, by the system's structural logic, a transfer of cultivation gain from the network's individual members to the network's central figure. The transfer was, by Cole's quiet, honest reading, exactly what the class had been designed to produce. By day 30, Cole was, by the system's own ranking, the seventh strongest individual cultivator on the continent. Second, he had, across days 31 through 60, extended the network's operational range. The estate's secured perimeter expanded from the original property's 6 acres to a controlled territory of approximately 400 square miles. The expansion was, by Cole's planning, a structured occupation of the surrounding rural land that had, in the structural sorting, been depopulated by approximately 93%. The 400 square miles included 3 small towns, 2 interstate exits, and a regional medical facility. Each was occupied by the network across days 31 through 55, with the network's personnel deployed in a small specific pattern that converted the territory into a functional civil enclave. By day 60, the territory's population, drawn primarily from refugees who had walked or driven into the network's range during the structural sorting, was approximately 12,000. Each refugee was screened by UNA's intelligence operation. Each was either integrated into the enclave's civil structure or, on the basis of the screening, asked to relocate to a different territory. The screening was, by Cole's instruction, clean. The refugees who were asked to relocate were given 2 weeks of food and water and a map. They left. They did not, on the network's reading, return. Third, he had, across days 61 through 80, coordinated the regional consolidation of the secondary refuges into the central enclave. The 31 protected dependents and the 12 self-arranged extended family who had survived the structural sorting were transferred to the enclave across this period. Cole's father took operational leadership of the transfer. The transfer was complete by day 80. The unprotected 37 had, by the structural sorting's mechanics, produced exactly the survival rate Cole had projected. 16 of the 37 had survived to day 80. Of the 16, 12 made their way to the enclave under their own power across the first 60 days. 4 were unable to make the journey and were retrieved by network teams across days 71 through 80. All 16 were integrated into the enclave. The 9 who had not believed Cole's father in the 8 months before the crack were, by day 80, confirmed dead. His father had, on the morning of day 81, sat on the front porch of the main house alone for an hour with a cup of coffee. Cole had joined him after the hour. His father had said, "The 9. I tried." Cole had said, "You tried. You did everything you could do." His father had said, "They were my family." Cole had said, "They were. They made their own choices. The choices were theirs. We, Dad. We did what we could do." His father had said, "The work continues." Cole had said, "The work continues." Fourth, he had, across days 81 through 90, completed the elimination of the last 3 pre-crack threats on his original list, whose post-crack positions had been confirmed by UNA's intelligence operation. The 3 were the last names on Cole's 7-year project. He killed each one. He killed each one personally. By day 90, the original list of 41 names was, in the post-crack environment, entirely eliminated. Either by Cole's pre-crack kills or by Cole's post-crack kills, every individual Cole had identified, across 7 years of work, as a post-crack warlord tier threat in the network's region was dead. By day 90, the Dark Age, in the network's region, had no warlord. The structural absence of a warlord in the network's region was, by every available comparison to the rest of the continent, a unique condition. The continent had, by day 90, 23 confirmed warlord tier operations active in other regions. Each operation was, by UNA's intelligence assessment, the post-crack pivot of a pre-crack criminal or governmental actor that Cole had not, in his 7-year project, identified or prioritized. The 23 would, over the coming years, become the structural pressure the network would respond to. Cole sat on the porch on the evening of day 90. He had, across the past 3 months, established the post-crack continent's first stable defensive enclave. He had, in the same period, confirmed that the cultivation framework he had built was operating exactly as he had designed it. He had, by every measure he could apply, survived the structural sorting. He had, by every measure he could apply, also positioned the network for the next 7 years. He drank a glass of water. The household joined him on the porch in turn. Eunice sat beside him with her own glass. Mira on the other side. Seela in the chair across. Sam at the porch railing. Jay on the steps. His father in the chair beside Seela. His father said, "Day 90. Cole said, "Day 90. His father said, "The worst is over." Cole said, "The worst is over. The work continues." His father said, "The work continues." They sat on the porch as the sun went down on day 90. The eastern field was, by the small specific quality of an estate that had become an enclave, quieter than it had been the night before. The post-crack continent was, by every honest measure, a different world. The network was, by every honest measure, alive in it. Part 4. After. Chapter 19. Year 1. Year 1 was, by the operational standard Cole had set, the easy year. The network's central enclave grew from 12,000 to 41,000 across the year. Each new arrival was screened, integrated, and assigned a role. The enclave's civil structure, built on the precise, small specifications Seela's compliance operation had developed across the year, produced a working economy, a functional medical system, an agricultural base sufficient to feed the population, and a defensive force of approximately 3,000 combat-trained cultivators under Sam's overall command. The defensive force was, by every standard the post-crack environment had developed, the largest organized force on the continent. The closest equivalent operation, a warlord territory in the southern continental zone called the Iron Compact, which had absorbed several of the smaller post-crack criminal operations across the year, was at approximately 1,400 combat cultivators. The Iron Compact had, by Yuna's intelligence assessment, been founded by the post-crack pivot of a pre-crack arms dealer whose name Cole had registered in year 1 of his original list, but had, on year 5 reassessment, dropped because the assessment had been that the dealer's pre-crack position was insufficient for post-crack warlord status. The reassessment had been wrong. Cole acknowledged the error in his year-end review. The compact was, by Cole's revised assessment, the network's primary regional rival. The compact was 800 miles south. The compact would, on Yuna's projection, attempt expansion toward the network's territory within 18 months. Cole planned the response. The response was a campaign. The campaign began in year 2. Chapter 20. The Iron Compact. The campaign against the Iron Compact ran across the first 8 months of year 2. The campaign was, by Cole's specific design, not a single battle. It was a structural dismantling of the Compact's operational architecture across a sequence of small specific actions that, by the campaign's end, eliminated the Compact's leadership, neutralized its combat capacity, absorbed its surviving population into the network, and converted the Compact's territory into a southern annex of the network's central enclave. The campaign's specific operations were: Yuna's intelligence operation identified the Compact's 12 senior leaders. Each was placed under continuous surveillance for 3 months. Each was confirmed, by the end of month 3, as a primary operational target. Sam led a series of 7 small team strikes across months 4 and 5. Each strike eliminated one of the 12 senior leaders. The strikes were spaced across the 2 months specifically to prevent the Compact's senior cultivation officers from identifying a pattern that would allow them to coordinate a defensive response. By the end of month 5, 7 of the 12 leaders were dead. The 5 remaining leaders, on identifying the pattern in month 6, attempted a defensive reorganization. The reorganization concentrated their personal security at 3 primary locations across the Compact's territory. Cole, accompanied by Sam and a small strike team, executed 3 coordinated assaults on the 3 locations across a single 72-hour window in month 7. The assaults eliminated the remaining 5 senior leaders. The compact's combat force, on the senior leadership's elimination, collapsed structurally. Approximately 1,200 of the 1,400 combat cultivators were captured by network forces across Month 8. The remaining 200 dispersed. The compact's civil population, approximately 48,000, was absorbed into the network's southern annex across the same month. The campaign produced, by Cole's quiet assessment, exactly the operational signature he had wanted it to produce. The signature was, the network had, across 8 months, eliminated the post-crack continent's second-largest warlord operation through coordinated structural intervention rather than direct military confrontation. The signature had, across the continent's surviving population, produced 2 effects. First effect, the network's reputation as the continent's preeminent post-crack civil authority was, by year-end, established beyond any reasonable challenge. Second effect, the other 22 confirmed warlord operations on the continent registered that the network's operating posture was, by structural assessment, uniquely capable of dismantling them on a timeline of approximately 8 months per operation. Of the 22, 11 sent diplomatic delegations to the network's central enclave across years 3 and 4 offering various terms of submission, alliance, or trade. Each delegation was processed by SELA's compliance operation, evaluated against the network standards, and either accepted into a vassal arrangement or asked to relocate. By the end of year 4, 6 of the 11 had been integrated as vassal territories. 3 had relocated. 2 had, on the assessment that they were warlord operations attempting to negotiate without actually changing their internal structure, been eliminated by network campaigns identical in form to the Iron Compact campaign. Of the 11 that had not sent delegations, 9 had, by year 4, collapsed under structural pressure from their own internal failures. The remaining 2 had, by year 4, been eliminated by network campaigns conducted in coordination with the populations they had been oppressing. By the end of year 4, the continent had, by UNA's intelligence assessment, 0 remaining warlord tier operations. The post-crack continent was, by the standard the original timeline had defined as the worst case. In the structural condition Cole had designed it for, a single network with a vassal periphery, an integrated civil population of approximately 91 million, and a defensive force of approximately 14,000 combat cultivators under unified command. The continent had, by year 4, entered a state Cole's network internally referred to as the consolidation. The consolidation was, by every reasonable measure, peace. Chapter 21, Year 5. In Year 5, Cole turned 28. His birthday was not, in any way, a celebration the network's calendar marked. The network's calendar did not have personal celebrations on it. The network's calendar had operational reviews, infrastructure milestones, and the annual Crack Day observance, which was held on February 28 each year as a small precise commemoration of the structural event that had defined the post-crack continent's history. Cole spent his birthday on the porch of the main house with the household. The household had, across years 3 and 4, expanded. The expansion was the structural development Cole had described to Una on her acceptance of the framework. The household, by year 5, was Una, Mira, Sela, and, added in year 3 by her own quiet pace, J.Co. Sela had, by her own description across year 4, formally accepted the small extended household structure on the same terms as the other 3. J had, by her own quiet pace across year 3, concluded her consideration period and had joined. The household had, in addition, 3 children. The first child was born in year 2 to Mira. The child was a girl. Her name was Hannah, after Cole's mother. The second child was born in year 3 to Una. The child was a boy. His name was Reese, after Cole's father. The third child was born in year 4 to Jay. The child was a boy. His name was Cole, by Jay's quiet insistence over Cole's objection. Sela had not, by year 5, had children. Sela was 56. Sela had, by her own quiet assessment delivered to the household in year 3, chosen not to. Sela was, by every honest accounting, the household's senior member. She managed, with the small, precise, focused work she had brought to 29 years of federal investigation, the household's interior practical arrangement. The arrangement was, by every member's quiet assessment, clean. The household's interior had not, across 4 years, produced a serious internal conflict. The arrangements were, by Sela's design, transparent. The transparency held. Cole, on the porch on his 20th birthday, sat with the household and his father and Sam. Sam was, by year 5, 26. Sam was, by every external measure, the second most respected figure on the continent. Sam ran the network's defensive command. Sam was, in the small specific way of the second-in-command of a continental-scale post-apocalyptic network, the figure his own original timeline counterpart had once been at the same age. Sam had, across year 4, also become engaged to a woman from one of the secondary refuge's populations. Her name was Rena. She was, by Cole's quiet observation, a good match. The engagement was, by Sam's own quiet assessment, going to result in marriage at some point in the next year. Cole had, at the engagement announcement, embraced his brother and had cried, in private, for the first time in either of his lives. He had cried because, in the original timeline, Sam had not lived past 25. In this timeline, Sam was 26, engaged, and the second most respected figure on a continent that had not, by any measure of the original timeline, been supposed to exist. The math had, by every honest accounting, held. The math had also, by every honest accounting, produced more than the math could have predicted. Cole, on the porch on his 20th birthday, raised a glass. He said, "The work continues." His father said, "The work continues." Sam said, "The work continues." The household said it together. They drank. The eastern field was, by the small specific quality of a field that had been a property line on a Tuesday in October 10 years ago, quiet. Epilogue, the 10th year. In year 10 of the post-crack environment, the system updated. The update was, by Jay's analysis of the system data, the structural transition the original timeline's data had not captured because the original timeline had not reached year 10. The original timeline had ended in year 7, by the data Cole had carried from his death. The update was, by Jay's quiet assessment, a global recalibration of the system's class architecture in response to the consolidated state of the continent's surviving population. The recalibration unlocked, for Cole, the remaining 4 skills of the Apostle class. The 4 skills were, by their structural description, the precise tools Cole would need to extend the network's operational architecture from the continental scale to the planetary scale. The other continents had, by UNA's intelligence assessment across years 6 through 10, not consolidated. The other continents were, by UNA's reading at the 10-year mark, in various states of post-crack warlord fragmentation. The other continents had, by the same reading, produced no equivalent to the network. The other continents were, by Cole's quiet honest reading, the next operational scope. He sat with the 4 new skills for an evening. He sat with them on the porch with the household. He turned to Sam. He said, "The next 10 years. Sam said, "The next 10 years. Cole said, "We extend to the other continents. We do it slowly. We do it by structural intervention, not by military conquest. We do it the same way we did the Iron Compact campaign, through identification of warlord-tier leaders, elimination of their operational architecture, absorption of their populations into network protection, and conversion of their territories into vassal or annex status. We do it across 10 years. By the end of those 10 years, the planet, Sam, by UNA's projection, the planet will be under unified post-crack civil administration." Sam said, "The whole planet." Cole said, "The whole planet." Sam said, "Okay." The household, UNA, Mira, Sela, Jay, his father, the three children, looked at the two brothers. Una said, "The work continues." The household said it together. They drank. Cole stood up from the porch. He walked across the eastern field, in the late autumn light, alone. He thought, as he walked, about the woman in the photograph on the mantel of the main house's living room. His mother, who had, in this timeline, died of cancer 3 years before the crack, just as she had in the original timeline. Who had, in neither timeline, lived to see her son turn 19. He thought, in the precise small way he had not allowed himself to think across 10 years of operational focus, that he had, by every honest accounting, built the life she would have wanted him to build. The life had a brother who was alive and who would not, in this timeline, die at 15 in a parking garage. The life had a father who was alive and who had not, in this timeline, died on day 14 of an infected wound. The life had a household. The household was strange by the standards of the world his mother had lived in. The household was, by every measure Cole had honestly applied to it, good. The life had, across the planet at this moment, approximately 1 billion human survivors of the crack who were, by every assessment Cole's network had produced, alive because of decisions Cole had made across the past 10 years. The life had, in the precise small specific way the math had required across 17 years total, work that continued. He stood at the eastern edge of the field. He looked at the sky. The sky was, in this autumn evening of the 10th year of the post-crack environment, clear. The crack itself, in the northwest, had, over 10 years, slowly closed. The tear was, by year 10, no longer visible from the estate. The sky there was the same color as the sky everywhere. He stood at the field's edge for a count of breaths. He turned. He walked back to the porch. The household was waiting. He said, "The work continues." They went inside for dinner. End.